It's not even dark.
It's
Good
dark
evening,
somewhere.
everyone, and welcome to another episode of LPA After Dark. We are LP Alliance, an intercaucus coalition, rebuilding the Libertarian Party and revolutionizing the Liberty Movement. My name is Amanda Griffiths. I'm joined by Kyle Davis, and we are about to be joined by Stephen Nekhaila, who has broken his leg, or something happened with his leg. He's on crutches for the first time in his life.
Not his leg, his back.
I broke his legs. I was upset with the way the things were going on the LNC, and so I broke his legs. And that's
Amanda was afraid that he was going to win the big ice skating competition, so she just took an iron rod right to his knee.
There we go. How are you doing tonight, Kyle?
I'm pretty good. Since it's an after dark, I've got my whiskeys ready, although I've got one that was recommended to me that I don't like, that I'm trying to get through here.
Amazing.
In Oban.
Amazing. I can barely see that because it's the porcupines are marching over it. Look at that. That's great. It's a headless bottle. I could see your trash can. No, I can't anymore. I could see your
trash can.
I do have a trash can.
It's true.
Do. Yeah. Why don't you tell people about you turning Grok into? Your name below your avatar says it all. So why don't you tell everyone
it's true.
about what happened last night?
Because Amanda's a communist, she wanted pictures of Leon Trotsky as Matryoshka.
That wasn't exactly what happened, but okay.
Those are exactly the words.
Those are not okay. That wasn't the words.
Stephen Free the Nipple Nekhaila, indeed. And so we've been hitting different AI, trying to get them to make Leon Trotsky nesting dolls at different points in Leon Trotsky's life. And it just was not working. And then by the morning, Grok was Mecha Hitler. So that's what I did. It's my fault. It's all me.
And so that is why you have that label under your name, under your face.
It's true.
Yep. Meredith, you're just wrong on this one. Young Trotsky. Okay, young Trotsky. It's not...
Just go ahead and turn your camera off. See? Young Trotsky.
Pre-status wall.
Boom! Gone.
Bring me back. Pre-status wall. Kyle did get his haircut, yes.
I did not go to Great Clips, though.
Not Great Clips, no.
After 5 years of letting it grow, I decided that it was good to let it go.
So that's a lot of years.
Mm-hmm. So I had a buzzed haircut entirely when COVID started. And I was like, well, I can't go get a haircut now. And then it's just been growing ever since.
You couldn't get a haircut because you were protesting COVID and keeping your hair long for that reason.
Yep.
Nice.
It was my protest cut. I'm apparently a Berkeley Jewish kid.
Yeah, she was talking about you there, Kyle.
I said I'm.
Yes.
I would be me, yes.
Talking about you. Absolutely. Yes. Okay.
Yep.
So here's how it's going to go, guys. This is LPA After Dark, which means that Stephen, Nekhaila, or whatever guest comes on. And for a little while, Stephen's just going to tell his side of things. Because there were some shakeups last week to Karen and Harlos about her side of things. And now we are talking with Stephen Nekhaila. He gets to do a monologue if he wants to do a monologue. He gets to share whatever he wants to share. Then we're going to transition to a more back and forth conversation about some of the recent goings on the LNC. So that's how it works. And Stephen is currently in hiding on crutches because I broke his legs, which I've already stated. Kyle, we've talked about you using the LP Alliance account during the streams. If you have something to say, say it to the rest of the class, please.
I mean, I'm clearly very ethnically Jewish and not, in fact, Scandinavian and Scots-Irish. That's it.
Shrug. Karen Ann's accusations. Yes. So why am I blurry? I got blurry. Darn it.
It's because you smeared Vaseline on your lens.
I did not smear Vaseline on my lens. Brief summary of Karen Ann's accusations. So Karen Ann alleges that Adrian Malagon was abusive and harassed her. She says that she filed harassment complaints. Also claims that he harassed Andrew Chatterton, used abusive language with him, and that these claims and complaints were ignored. She says that when Stephen was first put on the board, Stephen agreed. Karen Ann broke his legs, yes. That Karen Ann and he had a talk, and Stephen promised that he would keep Adrian Malagon essentially from attacking her. She says that those promises were not kept, that Stephen has been in league with Malagon and has not been fair with her, and that, again, he has ignored complaints that she has made directly and should have investigated based on the way that they were made. So that is, I didn't make the camera, Chris. I don't. But
it's the children that yearn for the minds.
So, at any rate, that's what she's alleging, and so that's what we're going to hear a little bit about Stephen's side of tonight, if that helps. What's the line on McCardle retaking over the LP in 2020? Yeah, good luck.
So the thing is, at least 4 of us will show up to Grand Rapids, and thereby she can't take it back because that's all the votes she could get. It would be her, Austin Padgett, and Arthur. That'd be it.
Arthur can't vote.
There is no minimum age on the LP, in fact. As long as Arthur can crayon, Arthur can vote. You heard it here first. The communists are attempting to take the votes away from the children and send them to the mines.
That's not how it works. You're very welcome for that explanation. So Stephen said he was going to be 10 to 15 minutes late. It's now 18 minutes late, 18 minutes past the hour. So was that a coming out confession? I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, we all knew that Kyle was a Matryoshka manufacturer in hiding.
It's
Alexa, I don't know that that's true. I think she used the word harassing. Oh, yes. So yes, she says that it was not that Adrian made a pass at her, but her claim is that Adrian said things about how she and her husband, like her husband, wouldn't sleep with her. Right. So that's one of the things that she said. Yes. And that she didn't wash her hair, or various complaints about her hygiene, that sort of thing. The toddler can hold up a sign telling the other children how to vote. Yes, very good. Very good.
It won't be a sign, though. It will be a shovel.
Yes.
With it carved into it.
If he ghosted us, we have other plans. If he ghosted us, we do have stories to tell. We would like to ask him for comment on those stories, but if he doesn't show up, we can just tell you the stories that we're going to tell you. It'll be great. What?
LPNH would be better off if children couldn't vote. Then you guys couldn't vote for anything.
Can we let the bears vote?
Yeah. As long as a bear has ever stolen trash from Jeremy Kaufman's trash can, it can vote.
Jeremy Kaufman had some bold words about the sanitation workers on strike in New Jersey. I don't really think he's one to talk. Bold claims from a man who lives in a town where bears eat the trash. No, I just stated a fact, Chris. I just said I didn't make the camera. That was true. That was not germane to your statement about communists making cameras. I was just saying I didn't make the camera. So maybe a communist did make the camera because I didn't make it. So me not being a communist would mean that I didn't make the camera if the communists made the camera. I don't really know who made the camera, Chris, is what I'm saying. Nobody knows. It's a mystery.
This is a lie. It was made in China, guaranteed, and thereby it was made by communists.
Not made in China. That doesn't necessarily mean it was made by communists.
What? It was not made in China. You have a MacBook Air, which is made by Foxconn, which is in China.
You think I'm using a MacBook Air camera? I'm not using a MacBook Air camera.
China.
You think I'm using like my FaceTime camera?
I hope so, because it's really bad.
My camera's usually good. I don't know why it's being weird right now. And right on cue, it goes blurry. No, I am not using my FaceTime camera. I'm using an actual streaming camera, which is usually good. Sometimes Kyle decides to mess with the camera settings to make himself look better compared with me. He's a very jealous man. He's a passionate man and a jealous man. So you're welcome, everyone.
China.
Thank you, Sarah Bell. That's true.
That is why she is capitalist pig. Communist capitalist pig.
Actually, it's
not technically impossible.
Casey, I'm about to start singing "I'm a Dirty Rotten Commie." Okay, so just watch out.
I mean, it's on YouTube too, right? You can just click the button and play it.
It is not on YouTube because I'm stupid and haven't uploaded them to YouTube. It's on my Substack. It's also the one that I haven't gotten a non-crappy backing track to because the song itself, the backing track, is not on YouTube, so I can't import it directly. So I have to record the backing track into GarageBand. All the other ones I didn't do that for. This one I had to. What shade of foundation do I wear? I wear extremely vampirically pale. It is YSL number 1.
That's not foundation for her. That's rouge.
It's either YSL 0 if they have a 0 or YSL Touche Éclat, which I know I butchered intentionally, number 1. She's trying to figure out like just how anemic I am.
Taiwan, number 1.
Thank you, Jeremiah. I appreciate that. I do wonder whether he'll show up. Show up for the streamer address, her complaints. Well, I mean, he's supposed to show up and address the complaints. So that's part of it. He gets to.
I just went ahead and texted him 8 to 8:15 Eastern, right?
Well, what else? Oh, that's true. He could be on Central or PST. Nice. Okay. Yeah. We are both rather pale people. Clown white. I have no excuse. It's the summertime. I should be much more tan, but I'm not.
This is just pretty much the darkest I get. And most
My
I get
soul,
redder.
however, is a different story.
The soul is the jacket.
My soul is as black as my fake leather jacket. My soul is both fake and dark, and so it is therefore my leather jacket, which is fake. We were doing side-by-side, Kyle and I, of me when we started streaming and me now, and it's rather terrifying, I have to say.
I mean, now you've just asked for me to pull it up.
Is there any legal ramifications of these complaints? We don't know. We do know that the motion to investigate Adrian for misconduct has been revived by Andrew Chatterton. And so that will be heard at the LNC meeting. There will be a vote on that motion, or there should be. I do not know about legal ramifications. However, I do not think so. We will be speaking as well afterward about, I kind of like the Death to Kingmakers, though.
No, it's coming back. But
Okay.
If we're going to bring up the Rainbow Porcupine, he's got to be here.
We will be speaking afterward about the social media committee and asking a few questions about that. I know that many people have questions about this type of thing, so we will address it. I did break Steve's leg. That's what I've told you all, and everyone refuses to believe me. I went to his apartment, and broke his legs. And he's had his legs broken now. Hello there.
So I just got out of the barber. I am headed home. I'm going to turn the camera off when I drive, and then I should be home in about 5 minutes. But I don't leave you guys hanging because I know I'm already late. So
It's
I
all good.
apologize. I do. It's a miracle I'm even walking right now.
Well, yeah, you're
It's,
going to learn how to use crutches. Or are you on crutches?
No, I have crutches with me though.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so I've been a little bit slower today than usual, and I was telling Kyle I jacked my back up doing squats earlier. I
Gotcha.
was doing 235, 3 sets of 10, and mid squat, an old injury sort of came up. So
Ooh.
yeah, I couldn't move for a little while when I was at the chiropractor. So I told Kyle, I was like, man, I don't know if I'll be able to make it tonight. We'll see what happens, but I did want to chime in, let you know I'm alive. I could just, I'll be home about 5 minutes, so I can, I don't know if you guys want to keep me on now, or I can just head back on then. But I don't want to leave you guys hanging for too long because I know we're over the start time. So
What do you think, Kyle? What the
I don't
hell?
know.
What are you doing?
I don't know. I think that that we should stay on, right?
That
No reason not to.
was Baby's first live stream, everyone. That was and look at me now. This is what happens, everyone, when you just devote your time to Revolution and nothing else. I recommend electrolytes. Just let everyone know. Yeah.
I hear you. So what have you guys been up to for the last 26 minutes and 55 seconds?
We purposely started 10 minutes late since
Okay, cool.
the call was 8:10 to 8:15.
Excellent.
And then we have mostly done our best to fill the air.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for your service.
We've been answering audience questions, so it's all right.
Cool. I didn't know Kyle was deadlifting and squatting 600 pounds. That's impressive.
Kyle is an impressive gentleman, at least insofar as he makes claims about being one. So we've never
I've
seen
never
him
claimed
deadlift
to
and
be
squat.
I actually have pictures of it. I have pictures where I was repping and someone got one. That was only at 500, but you can see the bar is good and bent.
That's a big deal.
Man.
I don't know how many of our audience members have tried to deadlift or squat 500, but there's a board at my gym. It's a 1200 club, and to get above 1200 is already pretty impressive. So that's like 450 to 400. Well, you're probably gonna do about. I mean, you're probably not gonna bench 400 pounds, but maybe you can do like 325, three something,
Yep.
and you can do like 600 or 500 on, or even 400 on, deadlift and your squat, and kind of make up the rest on bench. So, or wherever you can fit it in. But yeah, I mean, if you're pulling those numbers, that's pretty impressive. I got to say.
It grew up on a farm. When you're dealing with nothing but ornery animals, you kind of get strong.
Kyle, don't talk about the members of the party like that, please. They're not animals. They're people.
People are animals.
Yeah, but
That is true.
they're
It's
these are different.
when I say
animals.
animal
These
husbandry, I know what I mean.
Worse, more pathetic creatures than most animals. I'm joking, everyone. I love you all.
So, one of the big things we wanted to talk about, and if you want to wait on this one, you feel free. We had Karen Ann on last week.
Gotcha.
And we figured you probably had opinions. So we were going to give you the time for response, etc.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I saw some of Karen Ann's video live stream with you. I kind of perused it, and I didn't catch all of it, but I did catch some of it. And
That's all I do for them.
Where do I start? I guess. I mean, I've known Karen Ann for 10 years. I've got a lot of good things to say about her. She may not have some good things to say about me right now. I know she's upset, and what I will say is this: when I put out that email that she took pretty hard, regarding some back and forth on the LNC list. I think it started out, I'm assuming, with Adrian. And then it kind of continued with her, and it was like this little back and forth, and it just went on and on. And I'm trying to spend time with my family. We're trying to enjoy the weekend or whatever. And I see this bullshit again. And I'm pretty pissed off at the whole LNC at some point and just saying, look, we need to stop this shit. So, yeah, I did make a pretty pointed email that, somebody needs to be the bigger person and, stop the back and forth, removing each other from committees. I named it dilatory for most of it, but if they want to go at each other's throats, sure. And I thought about putting it in the end, it goes both ways or whatever. But, obviously Karen Ann had a big issue with it. And so, I don't know. Is there something specific you wanted me to?
Well, so we gave her time, to tell her
Sure.
side of what happened, and we wanted to extend that to you.
Sure.
And it respond to anything that she did claim. And I don't know how much. You said that you didn't catch the entire stream.
Sure.
She said things about how her allegation is that when you were first brought on as chair, you and she agreed that you would basically shield her from a lot of Adrian's harassment, in her words, and that you failed to live up to that. She also mentioned that she had filed various harassment complaints. Nothing ever happened. They never went anywhere. And that these should have been investigated according to policy. And that you and Adrian have essentially been playing favorites with Adrian, I think is a probably mild way of putting what she claimed.
Gotcha. Give me 60 seconds. I'll be on the computer. I'll join you guys via StreamYard in just a sec.
Cool.
Sigh. I think it's better than it used to be.
I appreciate this.
I think that it's too short at the sides, but apparently he's growing it out. So,
I mean, the sides were shaved before, so it takes time to not be shaved anymore.
I understand. You explained this to me.
Yeah, but not to the people. But Amanda didn't believe that my long hair had looked better before I shaved the sides. So I sent her a pre-shaven sides. I was like, oh, it is less shitty that way. Like, yeah, that's correct.
I think it's getting better, though.
Barber correctly said that it would not fade well right now since the top was long. Ich mag keine Mecha-Hitler. Nein.
I mean, you
Kein
did. Phil, that's what I thought when he sent me those pictures. Did you miss, by the way, Phil? Did you see Kyle's admission that he created Mecha Hitler? He made Grok Mecha Hitler. He pushed Grok over the edge with his incessant demands of creating Leon Tchotchkes. And hey, that is aggression. That is a macro aggression. That is a mecha aggression. And I will thank you to return that I am feeling very aggressed upon right now. So I would be very happy if you were to not get that's not my handle at all. Darn it. Come on. Nah, not that.
Meredith, I gotta say, if anyone you've been with his penis is falling down on the side, something is very awry. She's back.
There we go.
Steve is a dot.
Saved it. Steve is he's after dark, so it's a big black ball of nothing. I can't hear him either. There we go.
There we go. Can't hear him again. Ah!
There we go.
How's that? You hear me?
Yep.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, great. Excellent.
All right. Well, just to begin, I did grab some Jack Daniel's Sinatra for tonight's podcast because this is what I had last time, and I think I actually used it all up. So I went to the liquor store and got me some Jack Sinatra. But anyway, back onto the topic at hand here.
I just want to interrupt to point out that the only woman who's commenting on my hair was a fan, and all the men don't like it. So get pissed.
Yeah, no, I mean, Adrian, I do not. All I have to say really is, he can be a total asshole. I've told him as much. I do not endorse his behavior. Every time Karen Ann has asked me to reach out, I have. And insofar as she's sent in policy complaints, Paul and I were ready to act. She's going back and forth on those, saying, hey, I want to do a policy manual, complaint based on the policy manual. Sure. Okay, cool. I don't want to do it. Okay, cool. So we didn't do it. I think there was a latest one, but there hasn't been much breathing room to actually go ahead and do it. So, there's that. If I asked Adrian Malagon to resign, I'm sure he would. He's expressed that much to me. There's an ethics committee motion on the table for next Monday's meeting, next Sunday. And I actually was the one that moved that policy or that committee to exist, to be able to go and actually create policies for the LNC, to be able to put in some policy manual amendments that keep the LNC on some common ground. There's something that Debbie Mason has made very clear. I know it's something staff would like to see. Adrian does a lot on the board. I appreciate what Adrian does. I don't always appreciate his behavior, to my chagrin, but certainly, if the board feels very strongly about it, the board can certainly do something. But it's a team effort either way. We've seen a lot of back and forth behavior on this board, and it's not just Adrian. There's other people too. So. At the end of the day, I think the LNC needs to get very serious about just putting things aside and actually working towards common goals and making sure that we're making some headway in whatever we set to put out, and let that be the yardstick to determine what people shouldn't be doing, or how do we engage with each other. But I think things should be done professionally. I think things should be done in a way that respects others. Whether or not you get that is another story, but that's where we're at. I'm not sure if you had anything else for me, but
no,
interview's done. Catch you later. Have a good night.
All right, guys. That's all. I don't have a whole lot to say besides besides that, and I don't know every single. I don't have a lot to say. I mean, I think Karen Ann has done a lot for the LNC, a lot for the party, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. We wanted to be able to, again, like I said, have you give your version of events. We think that that's fair. You did go on Swampcast, I believe, or maybe that was not you. I thought that you appeared on Swampcast with
I popped in at the end, I think. Yeah.
So we're able to discuss it a little bit, which is good. So why you didn't sign the email, or rather you didn't close the email with "this applies to everyone." It was just to Karen Ann. Why was that?
I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know what else is there to say.
You can say whatever you like. I mean, you really can. This is the after dark portion. So this is the we drink and you say what you want portion, and then we can discuss other issues. But
sure.
Why did you not sign that by addressing Adrian and Karen Ann? Why was it just Karen Ann with that email where you ruled both motions dilatory?
Well, I was thinking about putting something at the end where it was like, I'm gonna, I was thinking about saying something along as if it goes both ways, but Karen Ann, of course, has she was the one that was upset with this kind of thing, and she was engaged in it. So,
you know, I don't know. She took it hard, but I mean, everybody's got to hear. I mean, if she wants to, I don't know. It's a matter of trying to de-escalate a toxic situation on both sides, I think. So that's where I was coming from, but I was also really pissed at the entire board.
The entire board.
A little bit, yeah. We shouldn't be going back and forth at each other. So
it was a long email thread. I do recall that. Yes.
Yeah.
I was trying to find the fucking date and time of this weekend's meeting, and it was like, there are 60-something emails around this date and time. Y'all couldn't have, like, pissed at each other in a different thread? But yeah.
You did make Adrian Secretary Pro Tem. What went behind that decision?
He's good at what he does. I mean, he served as Sec Pro Temp prior, and he's a damn good secretary. He's good at what he does. He's a hardworking guy. So I made him Sec Pro Temp again. He's doing a solid job, and sometimes you need hard workers. So that's where we're at.
We do have coming up a few things on Sunday. I know there is, and we've been working on this, so this is how we know it. There is a motion to accept or adopt the International Alliance of Libertarian Parties constitution.
Yes.
If we wanted to get into that and talk a little bit about what IALP is and what it's doing and why it needs a new constitution.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So the IALP, I know you guys have been involved, Pierre as well, and some other members of the IALP have been involved in trying to get the IALP to actually be incorporated in the United States or incorporated anywhere, because for the last 10 years or so, we've been members since 2015 as the US LP, but we haven't actually the IALP itself is not an official body. So it's made up of loose memberships from parties around the world, the LP of Russia, the LP of Venezuela, of Argentina, so on and so forth, the UK, et cetera, et cetera. And so, for instance, we want a body that I can actually speak on behalf of libertarian parties as a whole internationally. When the Georgia Libertarian Party, the Libertarian Party of Gurchi chair was arrested, I said something as LP US chair, and it has an impact, but it'd be nice to have an official body that actually gets to speak for the international libertarian community, because we are an international political movement. And so anyway, the IALP is going to be formally meeting with a General Assembly, possibly sometime in Argentina over the next few months. So that's fantastic. And then so this motion is essentially ratifying our vote for the IALP to be for our vote for the Constitution. So that's what it is, and I'm really proud of it. I think it's a really cool thing. I think it's great to support our international partners and liberty, so to speak, because they do look up to us. They do look up to the Libertarian Party of the USA, and I think it's important for us to make the first step. But we're also going to be, supporting them once they are incorporated here in the United States to be, to be active and whatever they need help with once they're here to kind of facilitate it. So yeah, no, it's a big step, and I'm very interested to see what comes of it.
Nice. You mentioned the influence that the Libertarian Party has around the world. And so Justin, as you might be able to see, has a question on the screen. Other countries, for a number of reasons, we might get into some of them later, have been a bit chagrined, to use your word, by some of the behavior of the LP and various affiliates. Justin wants to know, how do you overcome that other countries like the Canada Libertarian Party think that we're embarrassing because of LPNH?
Well, I mean, LPNH is going to speak for LPNH, but LP National is going to speak for LP National. So whatever we put out is, speaks for the actual Libertarian Party. I think we have to be pretty careful what we say, how we say it as an LNC, and hopefully it represents all libertarians. I like the Canadians; they're good people. They're they got a tough mission in front of them. They don't have a big base, but they're pretty loud, and they're making a splash on Twitter lately too. I've seen. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the LNC can only speak for the LNC. States are going to say what they're going to say. We can try to intervene where we can, but ultimately, it's up to us to try to represent the LNC and the libertarian movement here in the United States as best as possible.
Because you brought it up, and we weren't going to get into it this quickly, but this is
Sure.
a good transition. You did say that the LP can only speak for the LP, and you might know where I'm going with this. There was a tweet that was put out by the Libertarian Party on the Libertarian Party account that criticized Volodymyr Zelensky, called him a dictator. That seemed to do some damage with international partners that were very upset about it. Obviously, the tweet has been pulled. But so I'm wondering how you intend, not just you, how the LNC intends to address things like that in the future when things like that do happen.
Well, the tweet's kind of funny because on one hand, I don't necessarily entirely disagree with the basis for the tweet. Zelensky did use wartime powers to get rid of elections. He has acted in many ways like an autocrat, but it doesn't mean that we're pro-Russia. It doesn't mean that we support Putin.
But he didn't use war powers. The Congress suspended them. Their parliament, sorry.
Wasn't it a part of the Constitution to be able to? Yeah, I thought that was a part of a war powers provision.
It's automatic. It's automatically triggered if you're in war.
Gotcha.
He's not allowed to leave until.
Is that what it is? Mm-hmm. Well, I would say that my biggest beef with Zelensky is when Russia was on the cusp of invading Ukraine. And I think Zelensky said, oh, well, don't worry. Russia's not going to invade. You have nothing to worry about. Don't leave the country. And then as soon as Russia, invaded 24 hours later, all the young men were, sent to the front line. And I've seen plenty of photos or videos of, people being thrown in vans, being sent to go fight the Russians. So yeah, I get where the angst comes from with the whole, supporting Zelensky and our tax dollars, theme. On the same token, we're definitely not pro-Putin either. I think there's, quite frankly, I think the collateral damages the actual young men that are dying on both sides of this conflict. Mm-hmm. If you've seen the footage, the GoPro footage, et cetera, you know how bad it is over there. So I don't know. I kind of get where the tweet's coming from, but at the same time, Russia is a imperialist nation. They've invaded countries before. They've invaded the country of Georgia. They've invaded, Ukraine in 2014. So it's not like they're some, they're innocent in this conflict at all. It's funny because we put out some content about Israel and Iran, and it seems like it got less pushback, but I know we did get some pushback on the whole Zelensky thing. Zelensky had a lot of off-ramps to end the war. He didn't take them. The West certainly pushed Zelensky to stay in the war.
Well, I mean, he's tried 200 times for ceasefires. He's had 200 ceasefires that he led, and then Russia broke every one of them. Like, at what point do you say, okay, this guy's not playing fair? I mean, if my neighbor's like coming into my yard and blowing shit up, and I'm like, hey man, what the fuck? Yeah. It's true. Like, I mean, at 200 times, he's gonna die, right? Like, he's not living if he's breaking my shit.
What do you think about the Turkish Security Council or the Turkish peace agreement meeting they had early on in the war when Boris Johnson came in and basically said, if you continue fighting Russia, we'll supply the weapons. And Zelensky took it, and they decided not to continue.
Like, Russia has been invading Ukraine since 1996.
Sure.
Before that.
I mean, as in the current form of Ukraine.
Okay. All right.
Since 1996 is when their first constitution was finished. And Russia immediately began sending in oligarchs to attempt to overthrow elections. And they repeatedly overthrew elections. And the Ukrainian people came together to overthrow those oligarchs. They've had 2 civil wars to throw those people out. And then Ukraine announced, we won't be taking the shit from you anymore. We're not taking your people in or anything else. And so Russia annexed Donbass. In 2008, Russia had military operations against, or 2006, I'm sorry. Russia had military operations against Ukraine. I remember because I was sitting in a classroom at Valdosta State because I'm a dork. And so my summer was spent with the Governor's Honors Program. We were watching news coverage on it there. And so, how many of your own people have to be murdered before you let them stand up?
No, I agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Ukraine absolutely has a right to defend itself. I mean, I don't disagree at all. If anything, I think Ukraine is righteous in the fight. I just, my argument is, or my worry is that as the U.S. and the West continues to fund and arm Ukraine, and promise the Ukraine sort of complicitly, but not quite, that they could potentially join NATO, but not really until the conflict's over. I do worry it could drag on. And my argument as an American taxpayer and citizen is, could this result in World War III? So as far as Ukrainian goes, yeah, I think they're on the right. I think Putin's in the wrong. To be clear, the Russian Libertarian Party is very much anti-war with Ukraine. And we're actually going to talk, I think, next week or sometime to talk a little bit about, we're going to do a little interview with them to see how, I'm very curious to see how they feel about Putin in the current situation, because it's very, very dangerous to be a libertarian in Russia. On a call with them, I asked them, what's it like being a libertarian in Russia? And they said, oh, well, some of us get arrested and thrown in prison. It's not that bad. And I'm like, that's a perspective, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah, but no, to the point of the tweet, I think I told them to pull it. I wasn't comfortable with it. I think it sent a one-sided message. I think with geopolitical stuff like that, we do have to be very, very nuanced and careful how we talk about things, because, even though, there can be an argument made that, okay, well, Zelensky throwing people on the vans to a fight in the front line or whatever, blah, 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 blah. Okay, maybe he's an autocrat. Maybe he's acting in war powers. Maybe he's acting righteously. I don't know. But that certainly doesn't justify the Russian side. And, it's all narrative games and everything else. We're not happy with the entire conflict as libertarians. We just don't want to support the war to continue. I think that's the main argument. We just don't want people to endlessly die, and hopefully see an exit and off-ramp to this whole conflict that can be somewhat palatable to both sides. But we'll see what happens. Donald Trump said, give me 24 hours to end the conflict. That didn't happen. So we're closer to World War III than we previously were.
We got a few things back from Karen Ann, who is alleging that, I want to find this, that she did, there was a complaint that she didn't go back on. And see, when I had the EPCC complaint, Kathy made it clear where we were at, proved that I withdrew the complaint. So she says there was a complaint that she did not withdraw, and that was the EPCC complaint, apparently. That's her allegation. I don't know whether that's true or not, or something to which you want to respond.
I don't know. I wasn't aware of an EPCC complaint.
Gotcha. Wanted to make sure that we touched on that. But yeah, so you do have, Kyle, do we want to go into the social media stuff or not quite yet?
I had one more follow-up question there. Okay. So, Pierre, we kind of had to talk him off a cliff over that message.
Sure.
Because he was like, these are the people who are fighting for freedom here, and you're our party is coming out and saying that they don't have the right to defend themselves. And that's, to me, that is the big issue with it. I don't care on the part of saying like we don't support paying for the war, and like I've heard 1,000 different suggestions on if we could give them weapons or if we should sell them weapons or if we can do a lend lease or that's a thing that I think that doesn't really fit the National Party very well just because there's so many different views on it. But I understand if social media wants to talk about it. But at the end of the day, the thing that gets me is that saying that they shouldn't defend themselves is antithetical to the whole idea of the NAP. It's like, if you're attacked, you have the right and furthermore the obligation to defend yourself. And so, this is something that's being backed by the head of our social media team, who takes that shot. And just because we have it as a background, so I'm throwing it up. We had just been talked to about how this porcupine was the most damaging tweet in the history of the LP.
Well, he viewed that as a challenge, Kyle. That was a gauntlet. That was.
And so, and in that tweet, all that was said was that individuals should be able to love who they want, and the Libertarian Party stands with that. It's so to me, I've sent you messages about Brian before. I've told Brian how I feel. He blocked me on Twitter for a reason. I, as a libertarian, and I don't think that I am alone in this, and I'm taking the time to talk to you one-on-one here rather than as LPA or anything else. I, as a libertarian, don't feel represented in that. I actually feel like I am being actively pushed away by that. This is, part of the thing that I do believe is our platform. I don't agree with every part of it 100%, but I'm here because that platform is so important to me. That ideology, the fact that we are going to stand in solidarity with the people who are being attacked, that we're going to, if people are being attacked, we're going to stand for their rights to defend themselves. People are allowed to do whatever they want in their own homes with consenting adults. Those things all matter. And so, we've got kind of a back-to-back-to-back thing here from someone who's going out of his way to tell us that he doesn't support this platform, and so he's not going to talk about it, and he's supposed to represent all of us. I mean, Brian may be an incredible comms guy. That's not my point. And maybe the Twitter's doing well from it. But I'm here to be a libertarian. And we have a definition that we've agreed on and is in our platform where everybody has come together and voted on it you can listen to the radicals yell about the old platform versus new platform stuff. But that platform is what we're putting out saying represents all of us. And so when the head of our comms team goes out of their way to say, nah, we don't really believe that, that's such a mixed message that even if people want to come in, even if they agree with Brian, it's pushing people away. Because if you do believe it, then you're going to read that platform and be like, oh, these people don't know what they want. And if you believe in the platform and you're listening to Brian, suddenly it's like, they're not really going to put their money where their mouth is. It's going against fundamentally what we say we are, which to me is why it's a big deal. It's not just they didn't like the gay porcupine. We don't want to spend war in Ukraine, and he got the messaging a little wrong. It's that a core ideological fact of libertarianism, as far as the party defines it, is being told publicly to be incorrect by our head of comms. It's a big deal to me. And I know that it's Twitter, right? Twitter doesn't fucking matter. I get that. But it's not just the Twitter part. It's the part where I've made thousands of calls to libertarians this year. It's one of the reasons that we keep bringing up LP and H shit. When we were trying to get people together for LP Georgia, I had literally I made 160-ish calls for Georgia. I had 16 people, so about 10% of the people who answered, 160 people picked up, I guess I should say, who mentioned either Angela McArdle's bullshit, the KVF, or LP New Hampshire. And at the point where like we're having to fight against our party on the principles that our party espouses, like, a house divided against itself cannot stand, right? And so, to me, the question isn't who does Brian stand with or anything else. It's why is our guy not standing with all of us on the things that all of us have come together on? It's like he's actively working against stuff. It's like Meredith pointed out. The claim that the porcupine is damaging is snowflakery. Who the fuck cares? It's a rainbow porcupine.
Dave Smith cared a lot.
Dave Smith cared a lot.
He was very upset. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm the one that actually gave the final call to pull it. I was asked, should we pull it? And I said, yeah. And it wasn't because I was offended by a rainbow porcupine. It was because I felt like it was it was kind of distracting from the message that was trying to be sent. And, it's tough because I talked to Chase Oliver about this, and, I don't know if the part people had the problem with the tweet was the part where it was like, it's good to celebrate Pride every week, not just Pride Month or something like that. So maybe if people felt compelled, I need to celebrate. You're telling me I have to celebrate Pride Month. It's tough because I like the whole motto of the Libertarian Party is a place where a priest and a pornographer can get in a room and agree on both, agree on policy and to be together. And it's like, look, I know conservative gay people, if that makes sense to people who I know.
Log
cabin
people Republicans.
Catholic, Catholic, Christian, gay. I live in a community that's 30% gay in Key West. So I have a lot of friends. I know people that are gay. I know people that are gay that vote Republican. I grew up in an old redneck fishing town that, the gay is like, whatever, they have this whole reaction to it. It's like this whole thing. And I think a lot of the country is the same way. You get people who go online and they don't want to be associated with that, or they don't want to stuff down their throat or whatever. But the reality is the Libertarian Party always has and always does stand up for the rights of the LGBTQ community, whatever you want to call it, the GSM community. We have, when it was unpopular I can only imagine during Stonewall, during all the, the civil rights movements to, back in, how much more accepted is it today than it was in the 70s or 80s? I mean, I'm sure we've grown in a large way, but I'm sure in other ways it's depending on where you're at in the country, it's still very taboo. And I think where we lose the plot is, what does that have to do with liberty? What does that have to do with human respect? What does that have to do with fighting for freedom, fighting for other people? I think we've lost sight of that a little bit. And I don't know if you guys saw my Juneteenth post, but I put out something that I thought would be palatable for the people that are like, yeah, I'm down with Juneteenth, like Ron Paul and other people who actually believe that, yes, it was a beautiful thing to actually free the slaves. It was a good thing. It wasn't overnight, but it was a hallmark date that did indicate the beginning of what was the emancipation movement. And, and people would say, there was some Republicans and, on Facebook or Twitter or whatever that were like, you guys are being woke. You guys are talking about, Juneteenth like it's some big federal holiday. I don't want to celebrate it. Blah, blah, blah. The slaves weren't really freed on that day, et cetera. It's like, that's not the point. The point is we're talking about something that did happen. It was a terrible thing. It was a red letter day for liberty. I don't care what anybody says. And, talking about it in a historical tone that does give light to what actually happened and how it happened and, how it can be applied today, I think is very important. So, I think with social media and in so much of the messaging, it's hard. It's tough because, number one, you don't have, not everybody is a Perry Willis or, a Stephen Nekhaila in a sense that like we're going to spend the time on like the nuance and the thing and this and that and try to figure out how do we market this to an audience that may be a little bit more conservative, but a little bit more socially, conscientious or whatever the case is, and figure out how to nail it. Like, how do we just, boom, it's like, it's a banger and everybody loves it. It is tough. And unfortunately, well, there's two things I think. Number one is not everybody on X actually agrees with us. Not everybody on X actually likes the Libertarian Party. So if somebody's commenting on a post and they're like, you guys are retarded, and it's like XYZ. How much of that is just somebody who just kind of came on our, it doesn't have anything to do with us, and we don't want to appease people that hate us, but at the same time, we do have a diverse group of people that are libertarian, and we need to also make it resonate with them too. So I think nailing it with the messaging is tough. I do regret pulling the pride tweet, because I think instead of pissing off half the people, I pissed off all the people. The people that were like, you put up a porcupine that was gay, how dare you? It's like, you put up a porcupine that was gay and you pulled it, how dare you? It's like, so it is tough sometimes to that balance. But I did offer for Chase we talked about doing a joint co-authored thing. I know it's kind of after June, but I still would like to do something with him on that. I think it would be really important, because he
would normally be watching tonight, but he's sick, so it's.
Oh, is he? Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I'm surprised I'm here right now. I'm like, my back is killing me, but I'm all good, and I'm going to be self-medicating. So, but yeah, it's hard to hit that stride, I think, and in a world where realistically, it's hard to talk about religious freedom, because we've got religious freedom, and it also, to some degree, we've kind of got gender, sexual minority rights established in America. So like, what is the next frontier? And I think for some people, it's like the trans issue, or it's, blah, 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 blah. Maybe it's pushing a social issue. So it's kind of like, okay, well, where does the Libertarian Party stand, and what's our next fight? And I don't know. I'm open to feedback, but I think at the very least, we should celebrate and respect our proud history of over the last 50 years fighting for the LGBT, GSM, whatever you want to call it, gay rights community, because it is something that we've historically been involved in for half a century, and it is a big deal. So, the problem, I think, a lot of times is finding people that can be the right messenger, and it doesn't always come across well in a tweet, but maybe in a long form content, I don't know. Right. So that's lessons learned.
You talked about the role that the Libertarian Party has played in various civil rights movements and various activism movements, and of course, we do have the three of us have talked about an opportunity for advocacy this summer with respect to involvement in the No Kings protests, which obviously has a lot of different people, conservatives, progressives, independents, really doesn't have an ideology making it coherent. And again, I know that we've talked about this, about how libertarians really have a unique opportunity, because here someone else has spent the money, here someone else has, mobilized people, and there's no coherent set of concrete demands, right? Libertarian Party, original party, only party of No Kings, seems like an awesome opportunity to get back into, again, making ourselves known publicly in terms of demonstrations, in terms of protests. And we sort of wanted to get your thoughts on that, get your thoughts on the Libertarian Party's potential role in these sorts of movements.
Well, I think there's an opportunity to do search and rescue in all these types of movements, whether it's a more left-leaning sort of movement like No Kings, which I think you're going to find people that surprisingly are going to be libertarian, who may have, they're dissatisfied with the status quo. They become politically engaged through No Kings or whatever. And, they're kind of figuring out where their political home is. And so libertarians getting into these types of protests and just sounding off, whether it's with a microphone or going around with material and trying to court people into saying, hey, we are an established political movement. This is a political philosophy. Would you like to join us? I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I know some people out there are saying, well, if you go to one of these things, then how dare you? Why are you doing it? And I don't necessarily agree with that. I think going into both left and right leaning, sort of movements and trying to find people that agree with us is how a lot of us got the Libertarian Party, because we're not allowed to, there's not a lot of places where you can really be libertarian and learn about libertarianism. We have to find these people, bring them into our movement. So we did put something out on the internal list, lpaction.org. We have a lot of material that folks can go and purchase and give out at these events. But yeah, I mean, if you can find somebody, bring a Nolan chart. I love the Nolan chart. You get people to take the quiz, find out where they are on the diamond, and you'll be surprised that a lot of people fall in the libertarian camp. And then there's an opportunity to talk to them about a little bit more, get them to come out to an affiliate meeting, get them to, just learn a little bit more about what we believe. And maybe they don't agree with everything off the bat, but at least you're making inroads with people that normally, they don't have a political home. And it's something I discovered when I was chapter leader at FIU back in the day for Young Americans for Liberty. I actually just talked to a young man today. He's 18 years old. He's running the Young Americans for Liberty and SFL combined to make a Libertarians on Campus at FIU, and they're recruiting people there. They got a bunch of members. It's really amazing to see, and especially on a campus that's typically leaning towards the left. And you find people on both sides of the aisle. I don't believe that. Maybe it depends on your angle, but I think generally speaking, you can find libertarians out in the wild, both in sort of the traditional left and right spheres, because we're not left or right. We're something entirely different. And I really do believe that. And I think you shouldn't be afraid to look everywhere. People are pissed. People are very upset about what's going on right now in the United States, with immigration, with tech, with the big beautiful bill, with the Epstein files, with a million different things. I don't think anybody's really satisfied. So, there's a big opportunity to bring people in, use their dissatisfaction of institutions to give them the gold pill. They've already taken the black pill, give them the gold pill, and, they'll come around to us. So I think we should be engaged.
What do we fight for next in that regard?
Well, I think we should be fighting for everything we've always fought for, number one. But I think the hot topic issues of today are just the fiscal insanity at the federal level. I think, at least lately, I've been going hard after the Republican Party because they at least they campaign like libertarians, but then they govern like socialist Democrats. So once they get into office, they do the exact opposite of everything they've talked about. And, look at Thomas Massey, for instance. He's a conservative who's libertarian leaning, and he's somebody who stood for principle and voted against the big, beautiful bill. And what happened? The Republican Party went against him, and Trump is backing his primary challenger. And then, of course, you have Elon Musk, who, he's kind of ambiguous politically. I think he's probably fiscally conservative, but I don't really understand where he falls on other issues. There's a whole America party, and they want to create a whole new political party. I think they should come join the Libertarian Party. We're already established. If we agree on similar issues, just work through us. But, at the end of the day, what is the Libertarian Party's next big thing? Politically, I think it's going after local offices. That's what I think. But I think if we're going to be talking about, narrative-wise, what is a narrative we put out into the public? It's that the Republicans and Democrats are both two wings of the same bird. You're going to get the same thing no matter what. And what we should be doing is dispelling the myth that you're going to get anything different through their R's and the D's. And, we should be providing another option, which is principled and based in the philosophy. I think that's what we should be doing. And I think now is the right time to do that. And with Archimedes coming around the corner, we're actually going to have a real opportunity to reach out to people who are both registered libertarian and libertarian leaning, to actually invite them to formally join a Libertarian Party and become members. So that's what I think we should be doing as a party right now.
Justin mentions in the chat that LPNH, our good friends at LPNH, are refusing to do outreach, wants to know whether National will work with libertarians who want to do outreach without the affiliate. Maybe the affiliate is unwilling or unable to grow the party and the movement. And this actually opens up a broader question about the role of National in this respect.
Right. So back in the late 90s, early 2000s, the original Project Archimedes, it was done via like Reason magazine leads and like all these like kind of not not cold leads, but not really hot either. So people that were maybe libertarian leaning, and then we'd mail them, because back in the day we didn't really have the internet and texting wasn't really a big deal. So we were able to triple the size of both membership and fundraising back then. And so the same thing applies today. Who do we align with that's most libertarian? Well, there's 700,000 libertarians who are actually registered in 33 states. There's 27 states who are not 100% sure who they are. But the 33 states that we know who they are, we can go after those people via text, via email, via direct mail, via online cookies, mobile ads, or mobile ID numbers that we can follow them around the internet, whatever. We can even go into their Netflix if you really wanted to. We know who these people are. So so it's a cool thing. I know Kyle's very familiar with this. We talked a lot about it at length, and the reality is, guys, we need to grow. Yeah, we're doing good as a philosophy, but look what happened with MAGA. Like, there's so many libertarians that went and voted for Trump because we're winning philosophically. So here's the interesting thing. MAGA, there were a lot of libertarians in MAGA. Like, let's face it. We lost a part of that voting block because Donald Trump made some promises. And, and so, there was, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by the comments.
So do we. It's fine. Kyle does too. That's why I'm asking the questions, because he's playing with the comments. So.
Gotcha.
I'm not currently playing with the comments.
Okay.
I got away from Sarah yelled at me for you.
Okay. Yeah. So essentially we're going after people who identify as libertarians in order to get them in the Libertarian Party and not just out in the greater MAGA movement. Because I think the philosophy is winning on philosophical grounds, but the party, if we want to grow and make a political impact, we do need to grow our base. We need to grow, create our own narrative. We need to shape the mainstream narratives. We need to show that, you can't have faith in the R's and the D's. You have to have faith in us. We are showing the one true way, so to speak, so on and so forth. So reaching out to people where they are, I think, is a really key, important thing. And I'd like to see Archimedes, and you're going to see some announcements. We're going to change the name. It's going to be something a little bit different. And there's a 10-year plan behind it and all kinds of fun stuff. But essentially something that should be a core part of what the Libertarian National Committee does every single year, and not just something we think about every 25 years. It needs to be something that is core to what the board wants to achieve, which is membership growth and fundraising. So this is the biggest push we've done for membership growth and fundraising in over a quarter century, and we're going to modernize it, and we're going to go after people that identify with us, and I think now is the time to do it.
I think we've talked too about, as we just discussed, the role that activism plays as well. Micro-targeting, yes, very important.
Right.
And with respect to activism, I think that Justin's question had to do more with, say you have, people in LPNH who, or rather people in New Hampshire, libertarians in New Hampshire, who, like, LPNH is not going to turn out for a No Kings protest and who want to organize anyhow. What is, or what could be, sort of I don't want to say functional because that word's been corrupted now, but an effective national party? What is its role with regard to those members?
Well, I view the LNC kind of like, I'm a Wendy's franchisee, right? So you have your corporate entity, and the corporate entity is supposed to provide value to the franchisees. So what value do we actually provide to the state affiliates? Right now, the biggest thing I've heard is, well, what does the LNC do for us? I've heard that since I was a Region 2 rep back in 2006, 15, 16. What does the LNC do for us? And back then it was mostly ballot access. It was, financially, maybe we'd help a candidate here or there, but it was primarily ballot access, which I think provides a lot of prestige for the party and for the brand, so to speak. But as far as actual support for affiliates, it's kind of come and gone. It's waned. It's been, well, we're going to support the Frontier Project, which we'd fund with 50, 60K. And then we get, a state house candidate elected, or whatever the case is. And, we do really well, but then in other places we neglect. I think primarily the biggest impetus to do more or be able to do more is going to be capital. We need to have, more money to be able to actually go out there and support affiliates, support candidates the way we'd like to do it. So I think the party should be focused on growth, but at the same time, we should be funneling that growth towards the affiliates as well. So in other words, if we're also pushing a unified membership program, that would mean that states that, if we have somebody sign up at the national level, they'd have an option to donate to their state party, which should be cool. So we're funneling 700,000 plus contacts into the party, and hopefully we expand from, after that even larger. There will be an opportunity to also bring some money back to the state party. So that's one quick way we can do it, because a rising tide does raise all ships. If we're bringing people in, those are future affiliate, leaders, candidates, leaders of the state parties, donors, voters, etc., that I think we could bring in. But number 2 in the LNC's priority list is Project Decentralized Revolution, which is fielding 500 libertarian candidates over the next few years. That's going to require some money to actually be able to get professional materials built out for running for office, helping the teams out, maybe even directly supporting candidates, doing candidate support summits. Back, I think in 2020, we did a few, 2020, 2022, maybe, around that era. We did, there was some really solid trainings. I was a part of one in Georgia. Kyle, I don't know if you were there, but we did some trainings in Atlanta-ish, I think it was. I flew in from Florida, so the whole region too had their training there. It was good trainings. It was good stuff. We did affiliate support. We did candidate support. And so, really the crux of our issue is money. The more money, if I had $1 million or several $1 million, we'd be able to do a lot more than we do now. So, of course, the first thing we have to focus on is making sure that we're financially ready to go. And then, we can start funding a lot of these things. But I don't know, we have a lot of comments. I've been just looking at a few of them. I don't know if we need to address some of them or what, but I'm down with whatever.
We keep an eye on them. We want to be able to, to do to ask various questions.
Sure.
So I think what you're getting at is that one of the issues that's inhibiting the LNC from going directly to members, right, as opposed to just affiliates, is capital.
Well, it's a matter of what can we provide with what we have, and we're stretched very thin. I think that's a reality that everybody understands. The LNC is not in the best financial situation for various reasons. And so, my job that I've been tasked with is how do we turn that around? And I think our committee is how we stop the bleed. It's how we put on the tourniquet to be able to keep the blood in the patient, send them off to triage and do what you got to do. But, we need to be on good financial grounds in order to best support the affiliates. And then it's a matter of how do we best support the affiliates. Right. So
again, do members have much of a role there, or is it mostly the affiliates? Is it kind of like a top, middle, bottom sort of thing?
Well, I think it depends what members want to accomplish. If members are a part of an affiliate, but maybe, let's say they're a part of a local affiliate, how do they benefit from national? At this point, we are running PDR, so it's a matter of, getting the support that you need from us, which hopefully will be in the form of a lot of materials and, maybe, we can provide some flyers and different things to hand out and all that kind of fun stuff. But I think the main thing is getting affiliates aligned with us and our goals and working together to achieve those goals. So if we're going to field 500 candidates by 2028, we need to work with the affiliates to actually identify those low-hanging fruit races, find out which races are we going to be running either no competition or, perhaps a two-way race where we're competitive and we can win, and, working together to make sure we're both aware of those races and how the local affiliates and state affiliates can get involved, how we can work together on issues like Defend the Guard, the Unified Membership Program, et cetera. So, as far as the members go, I think it kind of trickles down, but, I think they'll see, at the very least, with our committees, like they did in the 90s and 2000s, more people come in to participate and therefore join those local affiliates and get more involved, which I know we desperately need, because a lot of us are like working third shift at Waffle House, and we're like smoking cigarettes behind the dumpster. And it's like the new guy comes in and is like, hey, let me clean the fryer and like mop the floor. It's like, you go get him, kid. It's like we need more of that young blood that's energized that can come in and do all the fun things that we're like, kind of, So I think that's what the Libertarian Party needs, is that new blood to come in and be all enthusiastic and help out. So that's what our committees will. That's one of the things our committees will do, I hope.
So it sounds like if you're a member and you've got an affiliate that's, for whatever reason, not super active, they seem kind of screwed. If the idea is that it kind of trickles down, but the affiliate's not doing anything, then the member is out of luck.
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, if the affiliate doesn't do anything, if they're part of a county affiliate, we are going to be targeting at all levels. So, and this is local elections are going to be a primary target for PDR. So I do think the local members will benefit. I think that's actually primarily where we're going to see a lot of the benefit go. Because if you have more people actively engaged and they want to get involved in the party, there's a real opportunity to get your local people going. We do have, of course, the software for voter gravity. We had something similar years ago. I forget the name, but I know myself and Jim Turney pushed it pretty hard. It was a candidate support software we dealt with a few years back prior. And they all do the same thing. They're kind of like CRMs. You get data, you get to know who's a libertarian in your area, and you can call them and, see if they want to get involved. I was a registered libertarian. A buddy of mine, Mike Kane, called me back in 2014 and was like, hey, do you want to join the Libertarian Party and, get involved? We'll make an affiliate. And I was like, sure. And, I joined, and now I'm chair of the party. So, just reaching out to these people where they're at could be, if we get them engaged, I think is good stuff. If local affiliates want to sign on to voter gravity, it comes at a much reduced rate. So, but ultimately, I would like to provide much, much more to both state affiliates and local affiliates, but it does take money. It does take time. And I'd like to get to a point where affiliates, both state and local, do feel very supported by the national party. But, we have a big opportunity to make tons of content and do like a whole learning library where you can have videos and content, et cetera, for various levels of running your affiliate or running as a candidate, et cetera, et cetera. We have an opportunity, in a lot of ways to do trainings and all different things. But again, it takes money, and we're just not there right now. So we're getting there, but it's going to take time.
Are we getting it? So I saw, this was an interesting thing reported in the Torch that Bill Redpath had filed the May monthly report. We're about $16,000 in the hole, and I believe Mr. Redpath said that we could expect to be about, down $15,000 on net every month for a little while. That's kind of scary.
It is.
So what are you? But you're saying that we're doing better. So what are some of the things?
We are selling headquarters. It's about $650 in the bank right there. We've got a little over about $150-ish in the account, so we're not going to go bankrupt tomorrow. I'm making very sure that. But ultimately, the big strategy is to bring people into the party, get them more engaged, get them to donate, recapture people, get our monthly membership program up and running to a state where we're self-sustaining. Because ultimately at $15,000 a month, we are bleeding out. This is what I knew I was going to be taking on, coming up as chair. The Kennedy Victory Fund, of course, got us along enough to get to where we are, thank God, because otherwise we'd have to either furlough employees or do something drastic that we don't want to do, and I'd like us to avoid. We'd like to continue the operations of where we're at, while making enough money to stop the bleed and continue on. So I've talked to about our committees with a lot of people. Jim Bobka is one. He was actually one of the people that got in to the party through our committees back in the day. Perry Willis was one of the original architects. He's been brought on staff. I've been working very closely with Chris Roofer and his team on getting this off the ground, and we're hoping to raise a couple $100,000 amongst our donors and our supporters and people listening right now to be a part of this, to the point where we can actually make a real impact and get these people to be annual or supporting monthly donors to the point where, we're getting out of this situation. So it's a tall order, but, it is what it is. And so, we only have a certain window to get it done. That's what the LNC is being tasked with. When you have an arterial bleed, you throw a tourniquet on it. Archimedes is that tourniquet. And of course, fundraising and everything else, and, getting our infrastructure where we need to be. We need to clean up our lists. We need to clean up our data. We need to buy new data, go after people. Because, to be honest, we've just done a bad job of reaching out to people that I think are in our court. And so
yeah,
that's one of the big pieces.
I'm still formulating a question, so you have another man to go for it.
I was because you like made the face where you were like you were going to formulate a question. So, one of the issues I think that you articulated, reaching out to people who are in our court, now might be a fair time to transition to the social media policy, which has gotten a lot of people from a lot of different camps kind of confused and upset. Brian McWilliams is a pretty polarizing figure, and giving him, pretty broad authority over a team where he's in charge, and really anyone. You can take Brian McWilliams out of the equation, right? It could be like some radical progressive trying to make all of our messaging about one thing or another. Giving someone unilateral authority who has such strong views and really doesn't want a ton of dissent from those views on policy in particular seems as though it risks alienating a pretty significant portion of our audience and potential audience. And particularly the audiences with whom we don't do very well, but have a lot of potential. And the other issue I think that a lot of people are upset about is the anonymity, right? Where if volunteers are anonymous, that's one thing. If it's LNC members or if it is members of the party who are doing work, it's a little bit different, where we should know where various people stand, who puts out a tweet, who puts out whatever bit of content. It seems like there should be more oversight there, not just from you, not just from McWilliams or whomever the director is. Would there be anything like reports from the social media committee? How do we even know that people are on track and doing things correctly?
Well, the idea behind the social media committee was that we already kind of don't know. I mean, I know who's on the committee, but I don't know. I don't really know who, I didn't interview every single one. I don't know what their biases are, where they swing. It's kind of always been somewhat ambiguous. 10 years ago or 9 years ago, I made the social media process review committee as an alternate. And that was at a time when we didn't know who actually had the keys to our social media. We didn't know who owned the accounts, who was on running the accounts. We didn't know who was posting on the accounts. We didn't know nothing. And so we created this committee to basically figure out, all right, who's actually doing what, yada, yada, yada. And that's where we're at 9 years ago. We didn't really care much about it. Now social media is a much bigger thing, especially with X and everything else and YouTube, et cetera. And so Brian is a professional. He's a PR consultant. He's done this. He has his own company. He's done it for over a decade, and he knows what he's doing. And so the original thought is that if we can get, if Brian and I are basically, because we already are, essentially the ones on the hook for whatever gets posted, we'll just put that and codify it, because at the end of the day, instead of sacrifice, we don't want to crucify somebody who's on social media because they made a mistake, but at the same time, we want the mistake to be fixed. So when the person who made the Kanye West tweet, after we just went out after Israel very hard about Gaza and everything else in the Middle East, I put out a statement on that against U.S. support of Israel, especially in light of what's going on in Gaza. And then somebody put out a tweet basically quoting Kanye West, something about the Jews and something about social media being, or X being a good platform, because if Kanye is able to say, I just didn't think it was appropriate, so we got rid of that guy. I don't know who that person was. I know they were gone. I talked to Brian about it. The person's gone. I know they have a name, but I'm not familiar with the person in general. And so the idea was, well, let's protect the people that may make mistakes and keep the onus on Nekhaila and Brian, who are going to be, ultimately their heads are going to roll regardless if something goes right or wrong. So let's just put them in charge. So the idea was originally to be putting more pressure on us. But, again, and I've told my colleagues on the LNC, look, if it's not like I'm going to, if something major happens, you say, look, I want this person gone, like they're going to be gone. But, if they want to amend it or whatever, I'm pretty indifferent about it. If the LNC wants to be in the know of who's actually on the committee, I don't see a big deal about it. I don't see a problem with it. But, ultimately, at the end of the day, the social media committee, which I guess now is formally a committee, you're going to have people that are a little bit more on the, Rothbardian side. You're going to have people that are a little bit more on the classical liberal side. You're going to have people that are a little bit more, X, Y, and Z in order to get, every issue kind of nailed down, have a cohesive team, and actually be able to talk about things on, a pretty wide basis. Now, what I did tell the team is this, in terms of, okay, here are the things. If you're going to talk about this, it needs to go through me. If you're going to talk about immigration, I want it to go through me. If you're going to talk about like a hot topic issue that might be divisive, I want it to go through me, because, not everybody is really skilled at nailing down what is our issue, what is the Libertarian Party's stance on immigration, for instance.
Like, we had someone who was on social media who was literally posting our planks, and Brian got pissed about it.
Cal, I'm going to plug in my computer. I'll be right back. But go for it.
So it's like...
Aren't they still on? Is it the same person I'm thinking of?
He is still on, but he was told to stop doing it.
To post planks?
Yeah.
I don't see why.
Brian's a bitch.
I don't see why that'd be a problem.
Yeah. Nor does anyone who cares about the Libertarian Party. But Brian's someone who has actively talked about how we should have supported Trump. He's talked down Chase. Our head of communications has been against our candidate. Our head of communications has been for another party. To me, that's disqualifying. Like, that should be gone. The moment that they're like, nope, I'm not supporting this person. Like, I mean, if you look at the bylaws, everyone who's in leadership is supposed to support the candidate. And so we have someone who's on, at the end of the day, I guess, like, it's your decision. So it goes back to you. But, like, that means that in that way, like, Angela, now you are supporting someone who wasn't supporting the candidate, right? Which is kind of fucked up. So that's just like my take on it. I'm not trying to like.
I'm very confused about not posting the platform. I'm not sure what I don't know. I literally, this is the first time I've heard of that, but
yeah,
it's platform.
And the parts of our platform that are too woke were making people mad, and Brian spoke out against it and was angry with the person who was posting those things.
Okay.
To me, that's like, the comments have kind of mentioned it, but that's kind of like if you're at one of your Wendy's and like instead of selling the junior bacon cheeseburger, you're like, nah, man, I'm selling Big Macs because people like those better. Like, fuck that guy, he's out. And so to me, it's like he's worked with and like we've got the receipts on this one. He's worked with state affiliates who didn't like platforms and or platform planks and everything else. To go against people, and was bragging about how he and Hannah I keep wanting to say Goodman, and that's wrong. Hannah Kennedy had kicked off administrators for the account, which I haven't talked to Hannah, and I haven't heard anyone else say anything about Hannah, but that's his claim. Where he was proud that Paul was off of the team, and he was proud that Doug was off the team, and proud that Keith was off the team, until he realized that Keith also has other access. Like, those things are fucked. How can a comms director be okay kicking off LNC members from comms for posting things that agree with our platform?
Well, my understanding was that anybody didn't have who wasn't in the Signal chat, which is where the unofficial social media committee got removed. So a lot of those people did get added back, but there was a point where everybody got removed because we didn't know who owned what or who was posting
Sure.
what or who was posting who. So
But
I know a lot of people
this
got them back.
This is after that because Doug Craig out of Georgia, for instance, he's radical caucus member who's in LP Georgia and is our treasurer. He had been asked to do posting from state affiliates for national, and because his posting was too woke, he was removed at the same day, same time as Paul and everything. And what's funny about that is Angela McCardle still had access to socials until 2 weeks before that. And we've got the date stamps where they leaked, right? We can see where Angela lost hers in May.
It's May 1st or May 3rd. It was early May. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we're talking early June, and everybody who posted anything that was woke was gone. Libertarians in a lot of ways are woke, because it's not coming out and being like, hey, being gay is the only way. It's coming out and saying, you're gay, I don't care. Go do your own thing. The government shouldn't stop you from doing your own thing.
Sure.
And so no matter where you are, that should be hardcore libertarian messaging. And so we've got someone who not only stood against our platform, he stood against our candidate. That's fucked. I keep trying to wrap my head around how he's okay. And when I look at the numbers for the Twitter, they're not great. They're not doing well. So, if you're not meeting your KPIs, you're not doing the thing you're supposed to be doing. If he's posting things that are libertarian and no one cares because we're just unpopular, that's a different story, right?
That's still a messaging problem.
Right.
That's still, we should be doing outreach.
But at least it's libertarian. If your messaging has to go to saying, don't vote for Chase, vote for Trump, you are not the guy. It's the same reason that so many people were mad with Angela. And in my mind, it's kind of it's kind of one of the things that a lot of people looked at you with promise for, right? Is that you're going to come in and help fix these things and everything else. And we've got McWilliams, who is actively speaking against libertarian things, and he's still over it. I'd get fired the first time that I go to my job and listed we suck at this, we should just go to this other corporation. I'd be gone. And the LNC is a business, so I don't understand why that's not the same way.
Where was this posted? Or what exactly was it?
Let me find it.
And I will,
Kyle would
and I will say that at least in terms of McWilliams has, his main duty is not social media. His main duty is getting me interviews and places in the media, which he has been doing and doing a really good bang-up job on it. So, social media is really an afterthought. That's actually something that I brought in a gentleman, Alex. He's been really killer so far at social media and getting involved. If you guys see more shorts and videos and stuff like that, that's been from Alex. A lot of other content. So we have been trying to bring in more professionals, I guess you said, to do more social media stuff. Which, if we had millions of dollars, I'd love to bring in just a whole team of them. But we rely on both.
You said that McWilliams is not really social media; it's kind of an afterthought. But he's the director of the social media committee.
Correct.
So, and he has the ability to dismiss or hire anyone on the social media committee. So it's still
it's a big part of his job.
big.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not his main. It's not what we got him on for. So, but yes, it's between myself and of course Brian.
So
Kyle has the screen share here.
That
okay.
So this one's where this is the affiliate chat from X, for instance, and dude's access has been revoked. This is in reference to the actual tweet. Credit to Hannah and Brian for working on getting that done. And then they're showing it. They are bragging about it openly. And then in a similar vein, we've got where Like we've got the page management stuff. So Doug's given. So if you come down here, Angela loses her control on May the 7th. Some people are
we
added
didn't
to the
have
page.
whole Facebook account access till around that time, and I know Paul did a bunch of auditing to get to go through that, so that's why it took so long.
So here's the May 16th ad, where like Doug's here so that he can repost from other affiliates and things. Joe Hanush is given more control. Brian McWilliams is out of the page fully, and then he's given control, and so removed, like immediately. It's all on the same day. It's all within 24 hours, I guess I should say, since Paul's was the next day. So like, that's brutal. Like, the comms director went out of their way to remove access from multiple people who hadn't done anything wrong, one of which is an LNC member, the vice chair, and also attacked someone who was, like, he attempted to remove Keith. So he attempted to remove 2 LNC members. He failed on one of them because he didn't have the access. That's brutal. That's fucked. Imagine if, like, someone tried to lock you out of your Wendy's, right? Like,
that's always the one.
It's always the
go back to the Wendy's. Okay, that's all right, fine.
No, like I said, it was a time, and I think it was Craig something. I told him he could, because he asked me what happened. I'm like, I don't know. Let me ask Brian. He goes, yeah, we'll just send him over to me. I'll get him back on or whatever. I don't know if he was added back on the team, whatever. But anybody that wasn't a part of the signal chat, whatever, because it was so many access out there, got booted. I asked Paul, do you want to get back on? He said, no, I'm good. But whoever wants to be on that's on the board can get back on. So, they just went out there and just wiped everybody out and then added them back in. So I don't know if anybody got left out that wanted to be back on or should be back on, but certainly, I know there was a big push to get everybody off that, we didn't know who was necessarily should have been on or wasn't on, or, could have been an artifact or whatever. But guys like, I think it was Craig or Doug Craig.
Doug Craig.
Doug Craig. Yeah. I mean, I don't see a problem with it. If he's been on for a while, get him back on. Whatever. If you're a board member, you kind of have a right to be on. I don't see an issue with it. If you want to be on, you're a board member. Maybe if you want to be on, a certain platform, whatever, cool, fucking do it. So I don't have an issue with it. That's your right. And I mean, again, I think we have to have a balanced team. We got to have a team that hits all the notes. And I think, it's you got to find people that are good at what they do. So if it's Instagram, how do you do Instagram? If it's Facebook, I think long form content works really well. If it's X, kind of being snippy works, but we do make mistakes too. I mean, I remember back in the day when we had the whole, on Easter Sunday, there was like the whole thing with the Church of Satan, because we were trying to do a whole thing religious freedom, and somebody thought it would be a good idea to put out, well, the Church of Satan is technically religious freedom. So we put out a post on that. And of course it was on Easter Sunday. So it was a very interesting time. Offended some people. And, we got some whiplash there, but, we saying, okay, well, we learn and we move on. But yeah, I mean, I'm open to having a solid team of people that represent all sides of the libertarian spectrum, so to speak, even though I think we're all on the same spectrum, we're all on the same team, but to represent all the different flavors in a way that is both nuanced. And I mean, there's probably been posts that have been pulled that you guys haven't seen or other people haven't seen, because I'm like, I don't dig that. We pull it, maybe we rework it or whatever. It gets run by me or blah, 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 blah. But social media is tough, man, because you're relying on volunteers. It was a week before Easter. Was it a week before Easter? I thought it was on Easter.
Well, what's everyone upset about then?
I could have sworn it was on, maybe it was Easter weekend. It was like 2016-ish, 2015-ish. The Church of Satan was based. It was pretty based. The only problem with stuff like that is that you get in the hot water in areas where there's little political gain. And so it's almost like, well, it's like, do we talk about, like, what's, like, in 2025, what's the big thing that we talk about? because we could talk about. I mean, I can give you like five or six topics right off the bat. The debt, ICE raids, and what's going on with deportations, where we stand there. What else? Alligator Alcatraz, which is a thing. What's another big one in 2025? I guess gun rights, kind of, but because that was taken out of the big beautiful bill, they kind of did like a 180 on that. They put some stuff in, they took it out. They put it in, they took it out. We could always talk about, there's always the quintessential libertarian things, the war with Iran, the whole APAC lobby thing, and what's going on with Israel, and like how much influence do they have on the United States, but primarily war in the Middle East as a whole. So like, I think there's always topics we can talk about that are like, you're going to get a home run almost every time. I mean, you're going to piss off people like in the whole immigration thing, but I don't care, because I think it's a big deal and it speaks to the libertarian heart. It's like, if you can say, look, you could say whatever you're going to say about the border, but the issue is actually reforming the immigration in the United States to actually allow a legal pathway. Whatever that looks like, nobody's talking about that. So there's always areas, there's always a market for us to sneak into and start to form a narrative. So yeah, I think with like religious freedom, it's kind of hard to be like, well, we're talking about religious freedom. We made a tweet that pissed people off, but it was totally worth it because so many people came to our side because we were talking about religious freedom. It's like, well, maybe not. What's the hot topic issue of the day? Let's just focus on that and figure out what to do with it. So
I think part of the issue is, so there were a few things to touch on. So if I am, as Kyle routinely claims, a radical leftist, and I somehow find myself to be in charge of the LP social media account, or rather I'm the director of the social media team, and I work to remove people who are posting things about, I don't know, free markets, things like that, things that are germane to and on our platform, I don't want a diverse social media team in that case. And I'm saying that. I'm saying that I want someone who agrees with me. And if somebody is posting something that is consonant with our platform, but that I personally don't like, then they're out. And I think that's what we've seen. And I mean, in terms of targeting new audiences, you're absolutely right that it has to be, we have to be saying something that is going to bring people in, maybe people who wouldn't be brought in otherwise. We have to be targeting people and talking about relevant political issues. With a lot of the content, I mean, people are pointing out in the chat that I haven't seen the LP post about ICE, and maybe it has. I haven't seen a lot about it. There have been some pretty banger tweets, and there have been some that just feel very off-putting. And I think the most extreme example, of course, is the one about Zelensky. But
I mean, like, Brian went out of his way to mock people who went to No Kings, saying that any of us that went to No Kings were like far left and shit. That's also brutal. Like, No Kings has a lot of shit in it that's libertarian. Yeah, it's being paid for by leftist money, but that's fucking fantastic for us. Like, how much better does it get than a Walton billionaire is dumping money onto this thing and we can take it? That's, how many times do you get to hear like, oh man, I can have millions of dollars just dumped on me because of this shit? Like, that's sick.
Well, I think, it's tough because it depends. I mean, No King in some places a little bit more left than others. If you're in California, I think there's a good argument to be made. Yeah, okay. But, yeah, I mean, it is somewhat of an AstroTurf movement, but it also got, 3% of the population to go out and protest? So that's like a big deal. I mean,
it's huge.
If like 0.10% of that, is libertarian, I think it's worth doing a search and rescue mission on.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially,
I mean, to be fair, it is like a left-leaning thing because that's what it's been marketed as. It's what it's been, proposed as. But again, I wouldn't say, okay, it's left-wing or right-wing. I'd say, is it okay to go into both left-leaning and right-leaning, left and right in quotations, movements and try to recruit? And I think the answer is yes. because we're looking for a very specific individual who's a libertarian. We're not trying to find a person who's like, I don't know, burning Teslas or, who's like a J6 protester, but like, you want to find the guy who's like, yeah, like I hate the government and they're not doing what I'm telling you. Like what,
clearly it just depends on who's in the Tesla.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, I probably would not buy a Tesla for various reasons. Number one is hurricane season, and I don't think they have the range I would like to get out of Dodge. So,
that's one of the great things about them, though.
Wait, but don't they take like an hour to
charge?
Oh gosh,
no, I'm a huge I love Teslas.
I mean,
you're always good to go. You have a 400-mile range. Yeah, 400-mile range.
What if I needed to get to like, I don't know, Orlando, right? And I'm in the Keys, so like we're 120
I don't know.
Well, that'd make it. That's actually pretty good.
Yeah, 400 miles is far enough that like I can take off. I can take off from Atlanta and drive like most of the way down to Orlando.
That's actually better than I thought. Is that like a newer thing where they always?
That's a Model S. That's the higher. Yeah, the long range Model S.
What about the Cybertruck? Can the Cybertruck go 400?
The Cybertruck will do 350.
350.
I think that the long one's 4 something, but
so when I was in Irma, I had my Tacoma.
Amanda's so mad at me right now.
No, I'm delighting in your bonding. It's great.
Yeah, so like I had my Tacoma and we got to Miami. That was like a half tank because the Tacomas they have the horsepower of a V4 and like the gas mileage of a V8, which is amazing. Fantastic. And
so they have not changed. They have not changed their engine since 2003.
What is that for?
The Tacoma?
The 4-banger? Yeah. They just supercharged it. That's all they did. They took a 4-banger and it's an inline and they threw a turbo on it. But I don't know if I like the new Tacomas because I don't trust them enough. I like the old ones. So I got my 08. I still have my 2008, and then I drive a Raptor for my weekend vehicle. But anyway, so I took it up to Miami, and it was like half tank, and then I got gas, and we're trying to get to South Carolina during Hurricane Irma, and so we put 2 gas cans in it. That was like 10 gallons. Couldn't find fuel till Jacksonville, and so it made me. I actually bought a gas tank from Australia for guys that go like out in the backcountry for like weeks. So I got a 33-gallon gas tank imported. I got it swapped out. So I got my Hurricane tank now. So I get like 500-600 miles to the tank, which is pretty sweet. The new Generation 3 Sequoia sucks ass. I mean, I don't trust. I mean, I hate to say it. I went from Toyota to Ford. So what does that say? Ooh. I mean, and I'm a little bit iffy on the Ford. I'm like, it's got warranty, but once the warranty's up, I'm like,
You're going to do the same thing everyone else with a Raptor does. The moment the warranty's gone, that one's out.
I don't trust them, man. I don't know.
But,
they're fun, like, but I'm just like.
But the thing is, like, cars have gotten so good at this point. Like, everyone shits on Dodges, and Amanda's got a more than a decade-old Dodge that's still perfectly fine and happy.
I had a Dodge Charger for 12 years. They're great. I had a Charger, man. I loved it. I got it with a sound system. I did audio competition back in the day. I had my subs. Had a AR-15 and like a gun rack in the back. It was badass with like LEDs and everything. I think it was sweet.
Yeah, you seem like a Charger. You seem like a Dodge guy. I have an Avenger, so they're good cars.
No, I did not vote for Trump. I voted for Chase Oliver, and I would do it again.
Yeah, man.
I would do it again.
What's wild is like everyone I know that's ever like really spent time with Chase has comes out liking the guy.
I like Chase. I mean, look, Chase is a solid libertarian, man. And like I've known Chase when I was Region 2 rep back in the day. He's a solid libertarian. And like I don't know people's problem. And here's the thing. What if Rechtenwald won the nomination? Think about that. Would the Mises Caucus have said, oh, well, the strategy is we're going to get Trump elected. And then by getting Trump elected, we're going to change policy with the voting block. It's like, well, would have Rechtenwald been down with that? Because I was on an X space with Rechtenwald not that long ago. And he happened to be there, and I like popped in and they let me speak. And I'm like, no. And so, he's a big anti-Trump guy. He does not like Trump. That's Rechtenwald. And so, would he have been cool if the MC would have been like, oh, yeah, we're going to go with Trump because, the movement. And it's like, okay, well, there's this whole idea of, well, what we're going to do as a strategy is we're going to run a candidate and they're going to back out last minute and they're going to support the Republican. Well, I'll tell you a couple of reasons why I think that's fucking dumb. Number one is because they fucking hate us. So why are we going to support people that hate the libertarians? Because if we're on the menu, we're not at the table. So, any relationship we have with the Republicans is purely transactional. It's not a relationship. Look how they're treating Thomas Massey. Thomas Massey is being treated like shit, and he's being primaried by a Trump-backed challenger. So to pretend that the Republican Party cares about us at all, we're like a used condom to them. It's like Fight Club. It's like, you're used one day, you're thrown away like a wedding dress. That's the libertarians to the Republican Party. We're not friends with them. We're adversaries. So that's number one. Number two is our strength is in the fact that we can pull the vote. The more percentage of a vote that we can pull as libertarians, the more that Stephen Miller is going to tweet out how terrible we are and how bad libertarians are and how we're these pesky kids ruining everything. So, people don't like Chase because it was openly gay, simple as. I mean, I think that's a part of it. I think it's dumb to not like somebody because they're gay. I think that's actually really gay to not like somebody because they're gay. I know a lot of gay people, and some of them are conservative, some of them are liberal, some of them are libertarian. They just happen to be gay. And I think Chase was really solid in a lot of things. I think my biggest loving criticism of the campaign is like all criticisms I have, which is money. I think money is the root of all good. I think if you have it, you can do a lot of good with it. If you don't have it, you can't. So I think if the campaign had Gary Johnson money, they would have been able to do a lot more good. It was a tough election cycle. We had Bobby Kennedy, a man who literally said, don't vote for me, vote for Donald Trump. And he got a large part of the vote because he had stardom. He was a Kennedy. If you're a boomer and you don't like the R's and the D's, or even if you're young and you like JFK, you're going to vote for Bobby Kennedy. I mean, we had some of our major donors, give a lot of money to Kennedy, and I don't fault them for it, but I understand why they did it. Jake was driving Mercedes when I met him, tricked me into thinking he had money when he absolutely did not. Terrible. How dare you? How dare you?
That's the play.
Hey, I respect the hustle.
That's what Kyle did too. He's like, tell me all about all of the LP memberships he gifted. And so I'm like, oh, Kyle's rich. That's fantastic.
Kyle can deadlift 500 pounds, so he is my internal.
That's what he.
I mean, I guess we did it on video.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive. I'm not gonna lie. 500 pounds is no joke. That's some serious weight. That's some. That ain't kitty weight.
It's like 1.5 Diego Rivera. That's more than 1.5 Diego Rivera.
The goal had been to hit 700 for both deads and squats.
Jesus Christ!
When I was in the high sixes. I'm a big
How do you
person.
have Yeah, you are. But how do you have your spine made of platinum?
So the thing that actually is fucked right now is my spine.
Well, me too. That's why I almost canceled today.
Legitimately, the doctor was like, look, you've got 5 discs in a row that are all either herniated, ruptured, or have literally unspiraled. It's incredible that you're walking right now. And it's like, but only one leg hurts. And they're like, yeah, that's because only one side is getting pressed right now. And that's incredible. And I was like, great. So it's all bone on bone.
Right? It's like, because I was like, I went to the doctor and I was like, he's like, oh, it's such a shame. You're so young. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I once messed my back up. I was skating on the ice. And he's like, you have 2 options. You can get surgery or you can get a shot. That's it. And I'm like, I'm not down with that. So I started like going on YouTube, looking up different things I could do to help unscrew up my back. Started doing spinal decompression where they put you on like some medieval torture device and like, they pull your back apart and it's amazing. And I got better. And screw you, doc, for telling me I can never lift weights again. But of course I did. And then I was doing 235 back squat, which is not that heavy, but I was doing 3 sets of 10. And like in the 5th rep, I knew I was already in for it. My back was already hurting me. And I had like a back spasm right in the middle of it. And like, I think something happened with the disc, definitely with the muscle. And went to the chiro and I was on the table for like half an hour, just like not able to move because my back would lock up. So I was able to get out of there with a pair of crutches. That's why I wasn't sure if I was going to be here today. And yeah, so sorry I showed up late. By the way,
That's all right.
We'll
just run late. It's an after. It's an after hours.
All
after
right,
dark.
Casual.
So I have a quick story since Meredith mentioned being farm strong. My grandmother was a legal midget. She was 4'10".
What the fuck? How the
this?
What are your genetics? Have you ever done a 23?
Everyone else in the family is tall, but she was a legal midget. And when I was little, my sister got sick, and so I lived with my grandparents on both sides for a while, and both sides are farmers. And my 4'10" grandmother, I would help her carry feed out and everything. I'm 5 or 6. And she comes in one day where I hadn't gone out to help her, and she's holding her side, and she goes to the bathroom, and I find out later that she'd been gored by a goat, decided that she didn't have the money to go to the ER, and so she had just gone into the bathroom, rinsed everything out, and patched it up. And that's one of the stories where if you talk to any farmer, or if you talk to any doctor about farmers, you talk to doctors in the area where farmers are, they're like, if a farmer comes into the ER, you know something is bad. There is no triage. They're going straight back because this poor motherfucker is coming and saying, like, I'm in trouble. I'm dying right now. Yeah.
Literally.
So I have a shifted question here.
This is my
my director rings all the girls to the yard. So we were listening to, I think it was an LNC meeting. I think it was the LNC meeting where you were having to.
If you're going to ask,
you were having to hand the gavel back and forth to Paul because you were running in and out, and you'd been in cars and everything else. And
yeah, I remember that. Yeah. I was in an Uber.
On the stream, you made the comment about you got your hotel and apartment a little confused there. Was it a hotel or apartment there, Steve? What was going on in there?
It was an apartment, but so at the front desk, I didn't have. I forget if they had to check me in through the elevator because I didn't have my key or something. I forget what it was, and then I was like, yeah, it's got an HOA, and so they have a little down. It's at the yacht club, 90 Alton, down in South Beach. So we have a little place there, and I don't know if I should be saying that publicly, but I don't care.
They've got an HOA. I'm sure it's a gated yacht club.
You can DoorDash me. You don't know.
But it was one of those Steven's confusing apartments and hotels in the middle of this call here. What you doing there, Steven?
LMC members have been there, so it's a real thing. It's a real place.
Is Mrs. Nekhaila around, Steve?
Yeah, I get a 4-hour shift now. No, it's a real place. I was at Martha Bueno's place, and I think what it was.
That doesn't sound like Mrs. Nekhaila.
Actually, what it was is I didn't. Okay, now I remember. I didn't have my key because I had to give the key because other family members had the apartment, and so I had to get rung in. And so I was on the call, and I was I'm checking in, but it's an hotel. But I'm wait a minute, they have to bring me in. Normally, I have my little key fob. But it's a nice place. So all those LNC members in the know, we had an amazing night at Club 11 during a team bonding session back in August of last year. I think Kathy has pictures that she's willing to auction off. So if you want to donate to the party, you can talk to Kathy Amiskavich, and she will get you incriminating evidence on me for a sizable donation to the Libertarian Party.
Well, we already threw up a picture that was an incriminating thing of you, right?
Oh, let me see
that's
I came in late.
Yeah, that is the thumbnail of the video.
That was my idea, by the way. I can take
that was Fantasy Fest back in I think 2016, 2017. It was a fun time.
My grandfather actually used to have a house out in Key West before Key West was Key West. Yeah, in the late 60s, early 70s, when it wasn't expensive, and so he had a fucking dock under his house, so he'd go down, hop in his boat, and go out and lobster dive. So Fantasy Fest. Fantasy Fest is actually a thing I'm aware of.
Have you ever been down for Fantasy Fest?
I have not.
It's never.
It's been a long time since I went down to Key West.
It's never too late. October's right around the corner. You could be here. You guys could come down and celebrate. It's a very fun time to be alive, to say the least. I'll leave it at that.
Sure,
and then,
sure.
It's a good time. It's a grand old time. Key West is a very libertarian place. So actually, I don't know if you guys know this history, but back in like 1982, I believe it was, during the drug running of the 80s, I agree with Meredith. What happens at Club 11 stays at Club 11, 100%. It was a great team building exercise. We all had a fantastic time.
Is that the one where Angela was complaining about strip clubs?
Oh, yes. How do you know?
Oh, because
she complained about it
recently on one of her streams about how the LNC went to a strip club and it was immoral.
Very upset about it.
It's like 50-50. It's like 50 that and 50 like a regular club, kind of. But whatever, a little column A, a little column B, what did she have to say about it? Was it a negative context?
Of course it was. Angela hates real fun.
Yeah, come on. We're Miami. I mean, come on. What are we? You're not going to get into trouble? Like, what is that? What kind of nonsense is this? As long as I bring staff members back in one piece, I think I'm not in trouble. So, So back in 1980, I actually have a flat. I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm gonna take this thing off the magnet. I'm gonna show you if you can kind of see it. That's the Conch Republic flag. So
let me flip you.
Yeah.
So we learned that Steven does mirror image with his camera. Everyone, that's a discovery.
I didn't know that, actually. That makes me sensitive. Yeah, so Conch Republic, we seceded where others failed. And back during the drug running days, they put a roadblock between the Keys and the mainland. And the city of Key West was like, we're not going to have that. If you're going to treat us like another country, we're going to become our own country. So we seceded from the Union and declared war on the United States of America. We became the Conch Republic. And to signify it, we broke a stale piece of Cuban bread over the head of a naval officer. And then the Conch Republic Navy went to battle with the U.S. naval cutter. The battle raged on for minutes as we threw our stale tomatoes and other fruit at the vegetables at the Navy cutter. They surrendered. And the next day, we actually declared our surrender and flew into Homestead to give our terms of surrender, which was lift the roadblock from the 14-mile stretch and $1 billion in restitution. Well, we never got the restitution, but we did get the roadblock lifted. So we do celebrate the Conch Republic. We seceded where others failed. You can get your Conch Republic passport. I actually know people that have traveled to Europe and to places around the world on their Conch Republic passport. We are a micronation.
What day was that? I'm sorry, because we have an On This Day in Liberty History stream. So what day was that? Or like one of the pivotal days in the rebellion.
Let's see. It started on April 23rd, 1982.
Oh, damn it.
Okay. Fun fact, Admiral Finbar Gittleman of the Conch Republic Navy, he was a card-carrying libertarian. He recently passed away, but he was the old man by the sea. We love him very much. I think it was the 80s or the 90s, there was a point where a bunch of Cubans, so there's a wet foot, dry foot in Florida. So if you're coming from Cuba, if you make it to land, then you can basically live in the United States. But if you catch you out to sea, they can turn you around, send you back to Cuba. Obama actually ended that at the end of his second term. He got rid of wet foot, dry foot, so you have to make it here. You kind of go through asylum. It's sort of a messy process, but it's still kind of the same. So back in the day, they went to the old 7 Mile Bridge. They got there, and the state they took them and they sent them back to Cuba. And the state of Florida said, "Oh well, we don't own the 7 Mile Bridge, so it's not a part of the state." So they get sent back. So a bunch of people from the Conch Republic said, "Oh, you don't own the 7 Mile Bridge, so nobody does. So we're going to go there and we're going to annex it on behalf of the Conch Republic." And then magically, the state of Florida decided they own the 7 Mile Bridge again, and that was that. But there was another time when the government shut down, and a bunch of people from the Conch Republic went down to the Dry Tortugas to reopen the national park. A lot of fun stuff. It's a great history. We're very libertarian down here in Key West, and we have a long, proud history of secession and not caring what the feds care about. So good stuff.
We are coming up on well, first of all, we're just over 2 hours, but we are coming up on the secretary election. You need to replace a secretary on the LNC. I don't know whether people have put forward names yet. We do have, and protect sources here, we have a couple of people who have said that Adrian Malagon really would like to be secretary and is trying to force that by threatening to vote for the Mises Caucus's secretary nominee unless he is put forward as secretary. Is there any truth to that?
Last time I talked to him, he said he wouldn't vote for anybody. So I don't know if that's true because I don't know who the Mises Caucus nominee is.
From a Mises source, as of 7 o'clock tonight, they didn't know yet.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, last time I talked to him, he said he didn't care if it stayed open or not. So, yeah, I don't know what's in his mind.
Meredith, what's in his mind?
I don't know if Meredith's here right now.
Meredith responded at 22:10, so it was only 6 minutes ago. She's probably still here.
Well, Jocelyn says George Phillies, perhaps.
I guess he gets to be pro temp a little bit longer until we decide somebody who's going to be secretary.
When is that vote, by the way? Do you know?
Sunday. It's noticed for Sunday.
Okay. Oh, it is Sunday.
There
Okay,
was a
wow.
motion to fill it on Sunday, so we will hopefully find a permanent secretary.
And you don't know what the names are or anything. You don't know whether Adrian's put his name forward. You don't know who's put their name forward.
At this point, it's up to the board to make the decision who they want to put forward. If I don't know who it's going to be, nominee wise, or I guess we'll find out. See who aces people have up their sleeves on Sunday. I don't know.
Gotcha.
And, so what you're saying is that we have
Hopefully
to
somebody
make stream
qualified.
Sunday.
Hopefully somebody qualified. That's all I care about. Because whoever it's going to be is going to have to be there during the 2026 convention. And that's,
are you suggesting there's people on the LNC that aren't qualified?
I don't know who wants to do it. That's the thing.
Well, they could nominate anyone, Kyle. They could nominate you.
I can read. Mostly. Almost in 2 languages.
Almost
Yeah.
2 languages. Okay.
And a little bit in 3. I think I speak for many, many people when I say I would serve if the LNC ever asked me to do a thing, but God, I don't want to.
I hear you on that, buddy.
Kyle, I don't know how to say this, but I don't think you're at risk of being nominated for
I hope not.
secretary.
I don't have the hips for it.
He does this, by the way. He routinely just says random things
Some
like
people
that.
ask about Tyler Hobbs for social media. Yeah, no, he is actually the Illuminati of the LMC social media. So Tyler Hobbs is the real person in charge of all of our social media. Always has been, always will be, and forever and ever.
Would be nice. Kyle,
I was
Think further?
being distracted.
you're being distracted.
Yes.
Thought there was someone from Colorado that said they were throwing their hat in for a second. Oh, that was Jim Wiley, Kyle.
Ugh.
That other Kyle. That was a joke, I believe.
No,
Um,
he was being serious.
I thought it was pretty. I thought he was pretty obviously being sarcastic, because he was talking about his long experience of 2 months as a secretary, or something like that.
This is the same man that can't read a calendar. What you're talking about? He's failed to read a calendar 3 times this year so far. Oh wait, I'm sorry. That does not include the 2 times he missed LNC meetings.
that actually is something. So, Stephen, you, I think, responded to someone who was commenting on our promotion of this stream that Colorado has taken care
Yes.
of. Something to
Yeah.
that effect. How is Colorado taken care of?
I talked to them. So I had a meeting with Mr. Riley, Ms. Goodman, after our spat, very public spat on social media about what they posted.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
You know, we talked it through. They had regrets. They promised not to do it again. You know, I threw some shit at them. They threw some shit at me, and you know, I think at the end of the day, we came to an understanding. So I felt pretty comfortable with it. I think we're not going to see anything outrageous out of Colorado. If you see something different, let me know. But I haven't seen anything personally. And hopefully it stays that way. So it does seem like we're on the same page as far as what we'd like messaging to look like, and you know, what we'd like to be off bounds, and you know, what we don't think is appropriate. So I think it went very, very well with the meeting in Colorado. I thought it went very well, and I think we're on the same page. So that's what I meant by Colorado was dealt with. I don't think they're going to be a problem. I don't think they're going to come out tomorrow and have some, you know, tweet that everybody's up in arms about. I don't think they want that. I think they want to be chill. I don't think they want to be in the limelight. I think they just want to get on to the next thing. So
it's not about the Colorado convention then. It's about
no. I've been talking to a few people in Colorado on both sides. I'm hoping we can try to come to some kind of conclusion that's still in the works. If we can, great. If we can't, then that sucks.
Right.
But
Steve, I got to interrupt for 1 second because Meredith's just factually incorrect here. He's the chair right now.
How is being secretary?
That doesn't seem worse than secretary.
Oh, God help me. I think somebody said they wanted to remove me or something in 2026. I don't know. I said don't threaten me with a good time.
I think you told us last time you don't intend to run again, right?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not running again. I hopefully will be. I mean, I might run as a board member in 26. I don't intend to run for chair. I promised my family I would spend more time with them and less time with the LP. So that's a promise I intend to keep. It does take up a lot of time. It does put a lot of pressure on a chair to do what they have to do to keep the LP going, and at the sacrifice of personal relationships and business and other things. I was actually talking to Jim Turney a little bit about that the other day. But I do hope we do what is best this term as an LNC, and as you know, whatever I can do as chair to pass the gavel on to whoever wins it in 2026, and you know, keep the party alive, man. That's really what I care about. I've been doing this for 10 years. You know, do I want to keep doing it for another 10 years? No, I don't. I'd like to see somebody else take it and run with it. I'd still like to be a part of the board, perhaps to support whoever it is, because I hope I'd still provide value as an at-large member. But ultimately, man, I mean, look, I mean, I know I'm not going to be perfect. I know I'm not going to be the best. I just want to be good enough to keep things alive for the next person to carry the torch on to the next generation or the next LNC, whatever happens, and run from there, and hopefully provide some value over the next 10 months. We're about a third of the way through, so it's been 5 months already, which is kind of shocking because I became chair on my daughter's birthday, 2/3/22, and yeah, man, it's been a little over 5 months since then, which is kind of crazy.
For those who weren't paying attention, that's probably one of his passwords.
2/3/22.
That's his gate code to
porcupine asterisk exclamation point. Bank of America. No, I'm just kidding.
Since you mentioned the torch, I'm going to go ahead and rep it. The torch is the LP Alliance journal that Amanda doesn't take enough credit for pushing so hard. It's really good. Like we've got 100 articles up ish so far.
We've got more than
100.
By the way, are we a Concordia, a Concord, a Unity, a Solidarity?
It's Solidarity. If we can discuss this a little bit. So I stock replied to you via the LP Alliance Twitter, and you know, so Concordia and Harmony are nice. They strike one as too inactive, right? They're very pleasant, I think.
They're too pleasant.
And yes, I think for a time that merits some contentious politics, there should be some more like strength, right, and force. And in that respect, solidarity seems to hit better notes, to go on the harmony theme, than does unity, in part because I think as the first post said, unity is oneness, right? So it's kind of like a collectivity, right? It's everything's been consolidated into one. And solidarity is about your strength through uniqueness, right? You're standing together, but that implies by default that there are multiple people that are standing together. And Kyle actually had a good analogy with set theory, which is, to have a set, to have unity in a set, you exclude things, right, that don't belong. And so with the push for unity as a word, to me, it's always been a little bit more, it's very often weaponized, I think, as a way to get people just to agree. And of course, solidarity has been weaponized too, but I think in a way that it's more worth it to take back.
It's interesting because I know solidarity has been used by the left, as we have solidarity with Palestine, which I think is a powerful thing, but I think it's a more politically charged term. It has some oomph to it because of that.
Well, we are,
of course, party, no, absolutely. I think when you apply a real politic lens to language, you have to find Pax Libertatum. I don't know.
Right, but again, with real politic, it's not always a time for libertarian peace. True. Sometimes tumults are necessary, right? So, yeah, I feel like solidarity is more of a tumult word, but Kyle was plugging the torch. We got off.
It's like, usually she's got to keep me on track, but if I ever throw a torch thing up, she's gone. Out of here.
No, wait. I like the torch.
I know.
The torch is... Yeah, okay. So it launched on the 30th. We have 100 or more posts up. And you were invited, Stephen, to contribute to the torch. Technically, you already do, because it's a multimedia movement journal, so we have our videos on there. So you are technically a contributor to the torch just because you've been credited on one of our previous
So what
streams.
is the torch exactly? Is it like...
It's the torch.media.
Let's just do a little showing. It's fine. It's
a multimedia movement journal for libertarian and libertarian party discourse, news, and debate.
So I am someone who loathes light mode, so we have dark mode. Man, would prefer it stayed in light.
How do you do that on the fly? Is there like a...
Bam! Because our website was built by people who don't suck.
Kyle did an amazing job of building this, as did Sarah Bella, who was in the chat, I think, with us.
So, we've got our feature things. Bill Sear out of New Jersey had a post recently. Current headlines. We've got our featured videos and everything. Libertarian thought. We have argument. So, like if, and Amanda would explain this better than me, but too bad. I'm talking. So, if someone's got a take, it's someone else.
X-Files, a man at the 20th century relic. What do you guys think of what happened with the Epstein files?
Well, I mean, we all know exactly what to think. Epstein didn't kill himself. I'm sorry, that's the backwards. Epstein killed himself. There was no list of victims, and Donald Trump is great.
He's totally innocent, right? He had nothing to do with this at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it crazy? I saw a Netflix documentary on Epstein. That's how mainstream it's become. When I went to St. John in the Virgin Islands, I remember passing Epstein's Island, because it's in the Virgin Islands.
Wow.
And I asked the guy on the boat, I'm like, hey, man, what do you think about that island? He goes, dark things, man. Dark things. And he told me some stories, and like locals kind of pitched in. I was like, holy fuck, So it was an open secret to the locals. So, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, it just seems to me like Donald Trump was complicit in all this.
We've got pictures of him hugging Epstein and Epstein calling him his greatest friend. I think we all know what's going on here.
Yeah.
And, so you're a father, so you should get a dad hat.
I like it.
Kyle's just doing promotions.
It's true.
I'm down. Got me in. Send me a pallet.
Nice. Put them out at the Wendy's.
We can do a fair trade.
Hell yeah.
Need some Baconators for some hats and some merch.
Hell yeah.
I like the flag, by the way. I like the
Thank
acrylic.
you.
I'm a big fan of acrylic.
Yeah. No, it's honestly, and it's the script is so much more beautiful than like Latin script. I think it's I don't know. It looks nice when you do cursive. But yeah, so Death to Kingmakers in Russian, in Cyrillics. So that's yeah. We've got a Death to Kingmakers flag. If anyone would like that, it is. I have it behind me. It is like full flag size, which is incredible. I didn't know it was going to be full flag size, but there you go. What? That? Stop! Don't. Okay. Anyway.
Is there anything you guys feel like I haven't answered in length today, or anything in the chat that you feel like I need to answer or talk about?
Yeah, I think honestly the biggest concern that I have does have to do with the social media, which we addressed. I think that there's, I don't see the virtue in the lack of transparency. I don't see the virtue in the hierarchy, and I really try not to. I really try not to talk about like individual people being a problem. Sometimes I have to. I think that anyone who is as rigid about how they think libertarianism should be, as Brian McWilliams appears to be, anyone who's said the sorts of things that he has on the LP Twitter, anyone who's worked to push people out for saying things that are on the libertarian platform and succeeded at pushing people out of the team, I don't have confidence in their capacity for messaging, particularly when it comes to reaching new audiences that we have yet to recruit and could. I was really embarrassed by the Ukraine tweet in particular. And it was something that I felt like I had to respond to and distance myself from.
Yeah.
So,
it's a tough one because, I'm not a Zelensky fan, but it doesn't mean I'm not a Ukraine. I think that Russia is a country which, it's interesting.
They
because
definitely are a country.
They are one of the countries of all time.
Yeah.
And, it's funny, like when I'm in Bosnia, the Bosnians, they look up to Russia. They do, because they're sort of a cultural epicenter, I guess, in the East. So they like Russia. You go to Gazprom, that's like a Russian, gas company. They sell oil to like the Balkans, etc. But at the same time, it's like I see both sides of the story, because on one hand, Russia doesn't want weapons in Ukraine to be able to, the whole Russian security, what they consider. But and also you have Sergei Lavrov saying that the West is at war with Russia, et cetera, et cetera. And I think if I'm not mistaken, recently Trump just said that the largest Ukrainian offensive is going to happen very, very soon, and we're sending weapons back to Ukraine. It's going to involve drones and Storm Shadow missiles. We are targeting Russian nuclear infrastructure directly. So it's scary. I mean, we live in scary times, I'm not going to lie. And it's not so much about, do I agree with Russia or Ukraine? It's more about, do I want us to get nuked or nuke somebody? And I think the answer is no. I'd like to avoid nuclear war where possible, or a larger World War III, because I think it'd be very, very bad for humanity. I am very concerned about that. In all honesty, I think it's a lot more probable than people think. Actually, it's about a book. I don't know where it went, but it's the book about nuclear war. It's somewhere on my bookshelf. I just literally got it yesterday. About what nuclear war would look like in the modern era. And, I do think if tactical nukes become normalized, if Russia if they feel like their back is against the wall, with Ukraine and the West backing them, there could be tactical nuclear weapons being deployed, which could lead to the normalization of such a nuclear weapon being used in the battlefield, which could lead to larger scale nuclear conflicts taking place. And it's a tough game, man, because it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, whether or not Ukraine goes east or west, how can you appoint new HPC chair when I didn't resign? Did you not resign from all committees, Karen Ann? I thought that was a thing. Tell me if I'm wrong, because that's the committee's understanding, and they've come to me and they've asked for a replacement chair. So if you've not resigned from all committees, which you said you resigned from all committees, you need to make that explicitly clear, because otherwise it's not clear and we don't know how to react. So that would be great. Meredith wants to leash Stephen, probably. What did I do now?
She said that she needed to cross-examine you, and I asked whether that would that not be direct, because she seems to be sympathetic to you, so it would not be cross-examination, it'd be direct or redirect. But she said that she needed to be able to lead you on questions on things that Karen Ann had accused you of. But see, I still think
look, we can go into the whole Karen Ann thing. I'm purposely trying to let lying dogs lie, because I'm trying to be very respectful to sleeping dogs lie. Yes, I've been indulging.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I didn't even know.
I've respect. I mean, look, Karen Ann, we've known each other for 10 years. I mean, how you want to play this is up to you, but I think you've been a stalwart for liberty. I think you've done a lot for the party. I think you have a very strong sense of what you believe is righteous, and you go off on that based on what you believe. I don't always agree with you. You don't always agree with me. I don't always agree with everybody. You never resigned from HPC. Okay. You didn't make that explicitly clear. So you need to make that explicitly clear to your committee so that they know what's going on, because as far as they're concerned, you're resigned. So you need to make that clear to them. Otherwise, we're going to elect a new chair. So you might want to work on that. Yeah, I mean, I wish we lived in a world where we all got along and held hands and sang Kumbaya, but we don't, and that sucks for everybody involved. But yeah, back to nuclear war for a second. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, when I talked to a couple people about that, we're not pro Russia. So here's a big thing. Here's what I'm trying to teach American libertarians is that as far as what
on the Karen Ann thing, I just pulled up the public list right quick and ran through it.
Sure.
For the notice of resignation, Karen Ann's statement of resignation here. I have lost all faith in Mr. Nekhaila as chair. His post this morning was the last straw. Mr. Malagon should also resign immediately, and if not, my motion against him should be brought by someone else. Frankly, nearly the whole board should resign, except for the few who already know how I feel about them. Mr. Malagon is an abusive bully and has been that way for years, and no one will do anything about it. I filed numerous harassment complaints, which were never even acknowledged under the policy manual. I'm not continuing to go through this. I will not break confidentiality, but I want to be free to speak my mind about the absolute hellscape this has turned into. I am not putting myself through any more. Mr. Nekhaila, you betrayed me. I am done. I will be addressing further on LP Alliance tonight. I am free as a bird now. Yes, this is effective immediately. So she didn't actually state any of the committees or anything. The way I read it originally was just secretary. And then the follow-up was, so there's the notice of resignation. The follow-up was requesting co-sponsors to remove Karen Ann from the LNC and all subcommittees. So, like, Adrian's follow-up was all committees, etc., but not from Karen Ann.
Well, if we make a motion to... Well, apparently bylaws thinks you're gone, so I don't know.
She told us she was resigning bylaws at bylaws.
She did say that she was, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Bring it up with HPC. They think you're gone. I don't know what to tell them. Yeah.
So, like, I happen to have those things up all the time. I've got that
How
feed
many tabs do you have?
How many tabs do I have?
Yeah.
I closed over
That's a
150
lot of
today, and I
tabs.
have at least
Jesus
12
Christ.
windows.
A lot
Holy
of
fuck.
tabs.
How many desktops do you use?
3.
Jesus.
4K 32, 4K 32, and a 24-inch high refresh gaming monitor.
So my buddy in IT told me he who has the most monitors is the most alpha. Is that true?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I believe it.
No, it's not. I only have one alpha.
Yeah.
One
And
monitor.
you ain't an alpha.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
I don't know, Matt. You haven't seen how much I can bench. Okay.
You admitted last night your hand goes in people's asses. That's not an alpha move.
That
is very
was
real
they
politic,
took that
though.
very much out of context. Yeah, yeah. You haven't seen me bench You have no idea how much I can deadlift.
Don't let Amanda be your spotter, Kyle. She might take you out. She might load
I'm for this.
I'll just like
I am
step
a
back.
middle era millennial. Like the worst case is she proves me wrong and I'm dead. That's still a victory.
The worst case is I die young. What is this?
Still a victory. The depression ends.
We have thought many times. I have pitched that at the Grand Rapids Revolution we should have an LP Alliance distrust fall. So the way that it works is you like
it's like SpongeBob. Where he's looking at
exactly
the
like you fall back, but nobody catches you, and it's to teach you that you can't ever trust anyone, and that you should never fall expecting someone else to.
This is some great millennial parenting. I think I should teach my daughter these things.
And I promptly was like, Amanda, I am not flopping backwards onto my back on a non-soft surface.
I think we're all members of the emo caucus now.
I've been outdone. I had a roommate for a while who had 7 monitors. She had spare graphics cards to run the extra monitors.
Okay, I was mining cryptocurrency for a while. I had like 5, but 7 graphics cards? Do you even need 7 graphics cards? Don't each output like 2 monitors now?
Yeah, you can do up to 3 from. But she was like, she had all kinds of crazy shit going on.
God damn. What the fuck you do is 7 monitors?
Her room was hot all the time.
No, I believe it. I used to have fans when I was mining cryptocurrency back in the day. I would mine Bitcoin and Ultracoin, and I'd have like 2 fans from Home Depot like on the computer. That was, if you look up Ultracoin on X or whatever, you'll see. Actually, that's why I created an account back in the day. Yeah, what we used to do back then. I was in the early days of crypto. I debated one of the Bitcoin core devs back in the day who thought it was a bad idea to have alternative currencies, and I proved him wrong 10 years later that Bitcoin is not one true currency.
The Bitcoin Foundation is just dumb.
I mean, look, we can
C. Wills wants you to fire McWilliams. It might be that he can't, but I do.
like
again, I'm just going to call for a reevaluation of the social media.
Yeah, I mean, look, if the LNC wants to keep the social media team open to the LNC, like whatever, I'm fine with that. Brian has got a lot of value. He's got me a lot of interviews. He's in a lot of good things. He may or may not
do those things and
Johnny
not be the one over socials.
But
that's the thing, yeah.
But yeah, I think he's a good guy. We always agree, probably not, but I don't agree with everybody. But yeah, I think he does a good job of what he does. Others may not agree as much.
I mean, I'm not sure he does a good job of being the director of the social media team. I don't think I would go as far as to say fire him necessarily. He's gotten you some good appearances on your camera followed you, and that was terrifying.
Alana, I have a little gnome that I have a gimbal.
Yeah. He's certainly gotten you good appearances, things like Bill O'Reilly.
Sure.
When it comes to the social media team, it's got to be someone who is, first of all, I don't know that I love the hierarchical structure, but it's got it, and I understand the desire as well for coordinated messaging. And I know that you and I had a little bit of back and forth on social media about this, that absolutely that's important. I don't think that the lack of transparency is how we get there. I don't think that sort of having someone who wants policy lockstep is how we get there. I'm not going to call for him to be fired. But I would want a massive reevaluation of the way the social media team is structured as of now.
There have been zero posts about Eagles from LP National's Twitter. So from my perspective, he's not an Eagles fan. He's only a Trumper.
Is there any Trumpers left? I mean, even if you look at like someone like, and I'm just talking.
I was birthed by 2 of them.
No, me too. Me too, man. I mean, most of my family is very conservative, so it's very interesting because we disagree on a lot. I mean, it's funny to me because there's so much ammo now, especially in the last 30 days, to point to the fact that Trump was never a libertarian. He never had our best interest at heart. And, you see a lot of big names. I mean, say what you will about Dave Smith, good or bad, and I'm sure there's more of enough to go around. He's even come around to the fact that, hey, maybe Trump wasn't our guy. You see a lot of people in the MAGA movement, which apparently libertarians make up a decent portion of that, who are very dissatisfied with Trump, which, of course, a lot of us could say, I told you so. Of course, he was never our guy. He was always against us. He's a part of the deep state. He's status quo, whatever, which I agree. But I think there is, at very least, I mean, I don't know who out there at this point, unless they're really, really just, their brand is Republican Party Donald Trump long term. I just don't see anybody who's satisfied with the GOP, or for that matter, the DNC. I mean, who on the left or the right is really satisfied with either party? And I think in an interesting way, I mean, I would rather hear from somebody like an AOC or like what's his name, the other guy, the Democratic Party, the more fringes of the Democratic and Republican parties, like a Massey or Rand or an AOC or when his name comes back now, remember. There seems to be more of a schism as far as ideological alignment goes in the general population, where people that are really engaged in politics, they feel they align more on the outskirts rather than in the whole moderate part of the political spectrum, or I'm going to vote for this person, that person.
Right.
And that's one of the things I've been getting a lot of calls from Politico, CNN, WAPO, The Hill, which has been solid about, Elon and the America Party. And, I've been telling him is like, look, I'd love for Elon to join forces with the LP. I think his money could go a long way. I think we're aligned on certain subjects, but I think, number one, making another party is a mistake. It's going to take a lot of time and capital, and it's going to be an uphill battle. But number two is, we have, trying to appeal to the middle 80% is not a winning strategy. I think one of the things the Libertarian Party has is that we're based on a political philosophy, just like socialism is based on a political philosophy. When you try to go after moderates, they're very fickle. Maybe they agree with you one day, but the next day they don't. And so they're not true allies. There's no true solidarity there to actually appeal to. They're just there for the ride, for whatever purpose serves the flavor of the week. So I think in terms of libertarianism, we need to appeal to people more on the basis of philosophy and single issue coalitions, multi-issue coalitions, people that align with us in a majority of issues, and go from there. And rather than trying to appeal to the so-called moderates, which I think is just a big mistake no matter what. I don't know, you guys.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Well, so about I think it's Duverger's paradox, which basically shows that if you have that center, people don't go to the center, they go, and I think this is one of the big problems. There are a few with the Liberal Party. And it's not a time for centrism. Centrist protests do not topple walls. People are engaged by radical messaging. You are correct that ideological evangelism and movement evangelism is the way to go. That's one of the reasons why we do have the torch, is because we do want there to be some kind of intellectual arm that says this is libertarianism from all parts, from all ends and dimensions of libertarianism, show people what it is, tell people what it is. And I do think that backing causes and activism has a huge role to play in that, much more than any particular candidate, because anytime the party becomes about a candidate, right? This is how we got Trump. This is how, the Progressive Party just petered out after La Follette died. This is how we probably got Harris. That it's absolutely critical that we begin messaging on ideology through the members as movement evangelists. And people see politics as vibes right now. And we need to get back to saying, no, politics is actually about ideas, and here are the ideas. So, I agree with you 100%.
Elon isn't an economic libertarian outside of being an efficient expert. I mean, I think the fact that he's backing Massey shows that he's at least interested in fiscal conservatism. I believe the fact that he spent $250 million on getting Republicans and Trump elected, and then to get into Doge only for it to be not codified is probably what turned him around to hating the Republican establishment. Sarah Bella says he's not a social libertarian if he has to. Yeah, I don't think he's a social libertarian. I think he's probably more conservative.
Yeah.
Control the sex of his children and will disown them if they stray from that supposed biological destiny. I mean, one of the things we have to contend with is libertarian philosophy. It's funny because I remember years ago, and I don't know if you guys will find this ironic as I do, but there was this whole idea of thin libertarianism versus thick libertarianism. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
But the idea of thin libertarianism is that we're libertarian in ideology only, in so much as that we provide a political framework, and then whatever you believe is what you believe. If you think that you could be a white supremacist and be a libertarian, cool. If you believe that you could be, an asshole or, a piece of shit, and I don't know, whatever it is, that we're not a moral philosophy, but we're just political philosophy only. I consider myself more of a thin libertarian, not because I don't think that we should be talking about moral philosophy, but in as much as that I think that there is a separation between libertarianism as a political philosophy and what I, as Stephen Nekhaila, believe should be as a moral philosophy. So I find it funny that back then we saw more people on the proverbial, I don't know, more social aspect of the spectrum who believe that social issues were more of a priority. They were more of the thick libertarians who believe that we should be a political philosophy, but also a moral framework for other people to join. And now I see more, I think in 2025, you see conservative Christians being more the ones to say, well, we should be libertarian, but we should also be against libertinism. We should be against, what do they say, degenerates. We should be against degenerate, whatever that means, because what really does it mean to be a degenerate? What does it actually mean? What does it mean to be, what X, Y, and Z? So they're trying to package libertarianism under a moral framework, I think, some people. And I mean, it's interesting. I don't know the answer. I mean, I think libertarianism itself is just simply a political philosophy. I think we're going to disagree on grounds that are social in some cases. So if somebody believes, we should be, pro Christian family values, but if somebody believes, hey, I think I should have the right to be, to have casual sex and have multiple partners, or, I'm going to have whatever the case is, I don't know. I think I have the right to have, I don't know, whatever kind of relationships I want. I think that's totally cool. No one should be able to tell me otherwise. Or other people are going to say, well, you should have a traditional nuclear family who's, bonded by, whatever the case is, and yada, yada, yada. I mean, those are all issues. Those are social issues, I think, go outside of the realm of politics. And those are things that people are going to either push or not push. So in that sense, I've always been a thin libertarian in the sense that I think that, the party should be very indifferent to what people's social thick libertarianism is better than thin libertarianism. Oh, thick with
like
C's. I feel you. Yeah, thick with like 3 C's or like a
thick thighs save lives. This is just known.
Club 11 caucus. But yeah, I don't know.
The cushion for the pushing caucus.
Yeah,
he does this all the time.
I mean, I get it on both sides, but like you can't have it both ways. You can't be like conservative Christian on one hand, and then like I don't know, like we can do drugs and party on the weekends and have like thruples, which is like I've got friends that have both. Like literally, I literally have friends that are like on both ends of the spectrum, and it's like do whatever the fuck you want. Like I don't give a shit. Like is it a political thing or is it like what you like to do? Because my friends that like would do one thing and friends who do like the other thing, like they'll probably be cool, hanging out together. But like I mean, it's not a political thing. So I don't know.
I think so. Maybe we're using the word moral differently. I mean, I don't know whether you can ever detach political ideology, right, from some kind of normative framework. Whether like because you believe that you have a set of beliefs or principles, ergo you believe a certain thing about politics. But I have trouble, distinguishing like normativity from anything else anyhow. So I accept that. I guess for me, when I see people who are more who are libertarians, or who say that they're libertarians, and who want various government restrictions on certain behaviors, they seem to be more of the uber isolationist libertarians, right? Who, and I apologize for people who've heard me talk about this before, but whose main priority is, I want to be left alone. I want the government to leave me alone. And I think that can sometimes translate to, if someone is sort of in my face with their lifestyle that I don't approve of, it's a type of aggression and they're imposing it upon me, and therefore I want someone to do something about that. Whereas people who are more, I don't know, socially progressive libertarians, I see a little bit differently in terms of, you can believe whatever you want about what is religiously correct or theologically correct. You might say morally correct. But in terms of the government's role with respect to the individual, there is a normative belief that supersedes everything downstream of it, which is that there should not be that kind of totalitarian interference. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That was a word jumble.
No, I get it.
I don't know.
I mean, that's the whole porcupine thing, right? Because you have people telling, hey,
Yeah.
Nekhaila, like, I don't jive with the porcupine. And they're like, oh, well, I don't want to have to, don't shove that collectivism down my throat. I don't want to have to celebrate gay pride or whatever because I'm not gay, or I don't agree with other people being gay, or, whatever the case is. So it's an interesting place to be, because, you're struck with this idea of like, well, the Libertarian Party for over 50 years has fought for gay rights. But then you have these people who are like, well, I don't want to be associated with the gay because I don't want to catch the gay or whatever the gay. I don't know. They don't want to feel like they're obliged to have to celebrate. And I think that's where that tweet went wrong. I think where the text went wrong is where it said, well, it's a good time to celebrate gay pride, but every month is a good time to celebrate, because it's assuming that everybody celebrates or agrees with gay pride. And it's like, it's tough for me, because it's like, well, I agree that, it's not a big deal. I mean, on a personal level, like, I don't have a problem with pride. But then you have people that do, and then it's like, okay, well, where do we meet? And I think where we meet is, look, it doesn't matter whether or not you agree. Is this something that the government, we have fought for against corrupt police departments, against corrupt fire departments, against corrupt, cities that have worked together to basically literally become gangs and say, look, your club cannot exist unless you pay taxes to, us for, if you want to have your club or whatever, and blah, 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 blah. There's like a whole thing. Or, or you can talk about like the Dallas Buyers Club, or you can talk about gay rights in general, marriage. One of our restaurants, the Island Grill, had the first lesbian marriage in Florida. We had the first one back in like I think it was 2012 or something like that. And, it's like, cool. Like, you should be allowed to be equal under the law if that's what you want to, be equal to. If you're gay or you're whatever, you're straight, you should have the same rights as your compatriots. That's my opinion. It's the party's opinion. Whether or not you think it's a moral philosophy, if you think it's against God's will, if you think it's, if it's something you favor or not, I think that's separate. But I do think the party does have, at least to some degree, we should be talking about these tough issues, because, they're nuanced issues, and I think we have to destigmatize them to a degree. Some people aren't going to get it. Some people are going to get it. I think there's a right way to talk about it. There's a wrong way to talk about it. There's a cavalier way to talk about it. There's an I don't care if you disagree or agree with me, I'm going to talk about it way. There's a way that you say, look, this is what we fought for. This is why we fought for it. I'm bringing you up to speed. I'm going to try to convince you, but I don't have to convince you, kind of way to talk about it. And it's a tough arena. I mean, there's like 5 or 6 issues I can think of that are just like, people are going to try to disagree with you based on principle or whatever, because they're hot topic issues like immigration, gay rights. What else is there? Those are the big two. There's probably a couple others, but and then you get to this whole thing where people talk about, oh, well, if you smoke weed, are you a degenerate? It's like, come on, yeah, I don't know. It's messaging is a tough thing to get nailed down, right? And it takes a certain type of person to be able to figure out how to appeal to a broad majority of people in a way that's both palatable but also empowering to the people that need to hear the message. So
yeah, and that's the concern, I think, with the social media stuff and everything else. But Kyle,
gay bars.
Do you have anything?
I do, but it was mathy, and so I was trying to decide if we really wanted to end things with mathy things.
Like Thomas Matthey, do you have like a list?
Yeah, Thomas Matthey.
The scientific libertarian because I need to lose a button, another top button on my shirt. What is this? Is this a PG-13 or a rated R?
No.
Oh, this is triple X. This is like everything. Just let it all hang out. Yeah. That's how we do it here.
So it's Fantasy Fest already.
Oh yeah.
Perfect.
So I gave a thing to Kathy a while back, and I'm not considering mentioning this as like NDA breaking because we have the membership records publicly. But like, have you ever looked at where our our largest member numbers were and everything?
Where they were in terms of like year, or
where our peaks were and everything else? Yeah.
Like 90s, 2000s, Archimedes? Mm-hmm. Wasn't that the top 30,000? I think was our peak, and we were making $3 million a year based on that at $100 average per member.
So.
Hey Kyle, can I? Do you mind if I use the bathroom real quick, and I'll be right back in like 5 minutes?
All
right. 100%. He doesn't have like a fun graphic. Is he muted? Should we mute him for his
posterity? Posteriority. We just pull him down for the moment.
I'll just talk about thick libertarians and thin libertarians. It's got the chat all hot and bothered. Meredith.
Please stop making fun of my lisp.
Meredith, you have a good name for lisp, though.
Meredith.
I've taken breaks during podcasts before, Jake. I'm surprised I haven't needed one.
Go ahead and go. It's fine. I'll hold.
I said I'm surprised I haven't needed one. I don't trust you alone with this chat. I don't know what you're going to do.
I'm just going to start putting people's comments up.
Please turn up. I don't know why you would want that. I don't want that. Do I look like I want LP National to be Cato?
Yes.
How?
Because it's on your resume. And you want a job.
Cato is on my resume. That's not how it works. I would like to turn LP National into an organization that backs causes as well as candidates and empowers members from the grassroots to be forces of social and political change. That's what I want. I think that we need to focus a lot more on member action, because it doesn't matter how good the candidate is, your friend, your neighbor, your coworker, your classmates are going to be the better evangelists for liberty if they're given those tools. So, and I mean, Cato had a dress code. Okay, I don't want the Libertarian Party to have a dress code. Dress as you. Dress as yourself. I got in trouble when I was at Cato at one point for evidently and it was not a super short skirt. I want to defend myself here. It was not a super short skirt. It was like slightly above the knee.
Look, she's really tall. She had a normal length skirt, but it stopped above the knee.
It's kind of true. And I got in trouble for having a skirt that was too short. I didn't really get in trouble, but like I got a talking to, which was that's always fun when you're at a major think tank and they tell you your skirt's too short. It was not
what was
too
their
short.
rule for too short?
It was they didn't have a rule. It was just like Amanda looks too sexy, I think is what it was. I think I was The Torch is a multimedia movement journal, Sarabella. It includes Cato, but it is beyond Cato.
Ooh, there goes her chances of working at Cato ever again.
Why would I want to create a product that already exists?
What?
Cato already exists. The Torch is different. David Bowes was wonderful. David Bowes was, I remember my interview with him. I was telling him about how much I liked Cato's work and how I had read his book and all of this. And he kind of leans back in his chair and he goes, "What do you disagree with me about?" And that was a scary question for David Bowes to ask. But, and I can't even remember what my answer was, quite frankly. I can't even remember what I said. But yeah, it was, he was a great guy. And did a whole lot for the Liberty movement. Market competition is good for business, yeah, but you always want to create something that's innovative, right? So,
and
anyway,
I just want to say the chain that I was wearing in the picture, it's a real chain. That's real metal. That's real steel.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
I'm kind of surprised they let me into clubs with it because you'd think they would think it's a weapon or something, but they didn't. So, yeah, good times. Fantasy Fest is fun.
Oh, yeah, anyway, I went to the Wikipedia page, and it was a pretty exciting page.
You were talking about Thomas Matthey.
Thomas Matthey.
Oh, yeah. What's up with Thomas Matthey?
So, every time the party has done well, it's been when our messaging is really consistent across the party. So if you look at the 90s, it was very, very libertarian hardcore on the platform, hardcore. We had kind of a die-off after 9/11 because everyone became a Republican for a little while there. And then the Prags came in. The Prags were sort of... some people are going to be mad at this, and I don't care. They were the left-wing MC. They came in, they wanted to work with Democrats. There were a bunch of things pushed for...
They believe in respectability politics, too.
Yeah. They wanted to... one of the things they were doing that was successful was they would offer to drop a candidate out in a major race. I think this is in Oregon, if I remember right. If the Democrats would agree to pass one thing they wanted passed. And so they were incrementally pushing things across by dropping a candidate out. They did a big push and they watered down the messaging of the Libertarian Party. That's when the platform change was in 2006.
Yeah. We were trying to be something we weren't. We were trying to appeal to a mass market by pretending to be something we weren't. And then when people came into the party, they were unpleasantly surprised that, oh, you guys are a lot more radical than you actually are. I think that's what happened during the Prague takeover. Is they tried to make us more moderate in order to be more. But that's the same thing that this Mises push has been. It has, yeah. And I mean, the Mises caucus has tried to make us more palatable to, the center right to some degree, and also to try to bring the more conservative push towards certain social issues. Which, I mean, it's fair to. I don't know. I don't know what the Mises goals are even anymore at this point, or even what they were. It's hard to even to say this for me.
I mean. I think a lot of the people who joined Mises very, very heavily believed in the idea of being more radical than the radicals.
Right.
The extreme libertarian cause. And I think that's why they pulled so many radicals. And then suddenly, the kind of the face of the MC, because Angela was and now is, because Heiss had been, and you know what I mean,
Right.
is suddenly like, oh no, the only radical libertarian take is to back RFK/Trump.
Well, because they lost the presidential nomination, so they had a plan B. I think that's what it was.
I think that was their plan. I don't think that they knew that. I don't think Rectenwald knew at the time. I think Dave, wow, Dave, I was just talking about David Bose. That's why I think Dave Smith.
His real name is David.
Did know. I know that, but he doesn't. I think Dave Smith did know that was the intention, and it's probably why he dropped out. He gave a reason about his, spending more time with his family and stuff. But I am not entirely convinced that he didn't.
I think that's what it was. I really do with Dave. I think he wanted to spend more time with his family. I really do. I think when the pressure started to come up, when he realized, hey, this is something you're going to have to do. You're going to be in the limelight. You're going to take a lot of shit. It's going to impact your career. It's going to impact you. It's going to impact your family. Do you want to do this? I don't think he was ready for it. Personally, that's my opinion. I think
that's what he's doing now.
It is, but it's not the same as running for president, I don't think. And I think when he decided not to run for prez, and then you had Rectenwald step forward and he didn't get the nomination, I think the MC basically pivoted and said, look, we don't like Chase Oliver, so we're not going to vote for Chase Oliver in the presidential election. We're going to pivot towards Trump. And I think that's where the narrative started to be built, where it was saying, well, the Libertarian Party, we got Trump or we got Chase Oliver to take votes away from the Democrats. And our strategy is we're going to try to get Trump to win in order to push along more of a libertarian agenda. And people just went on with that. They kind of went along with the idea of, oh, yeah, well, we're not supporting our candidate in order to support Trump in order to bring along a more libertarian agenda, blah, blah, blah. But I guarantee you, if Rectenwald would have won the nomination, that narrative wouldn't have been in place. If Dave Smith would have won the nomination, that narrative would have been in place because it would have been about supporting the candidate in order to try to push a more libertarian agenda. And now we see in, July 2025, what have we got? It only took 5 months. 5 months, and I forgive anybody who voted for Trump who's now coming back to the Libertarian Party, or at least questioning their vote for Trump, because they were led along by the ideas that Trump would end the Ukraine war in 24 hours, prevent World War III, that he would do all these great things, that he would slash the deficit, blah, 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 blah. He talked a big game. And of course he did free Ross, which, for what it's worth, he did do, but that was transactional. That wasn't a partnership. That was a transaction. That was a political trend. He promised something for the libertarian vote. He went after Coptic Christians, which are a very, very small minority. I'm a Coptic Christian in the U.S., Egyptian Christians. Trump said, the Coptic Christian community should vote for me for conservative values. He knew the strategy he was playing. He was going after every minority group, libertarians included, to try to court our vote to try to win the presidency, and he did a good job at that. I have to give it to him. But ultimately, I think for a long-term libertarian strategy, we have to get that 5%. We have to get the 3.5% of the vote, because number one, once we get to 5% of the vote, we get matching federal funds, which the fucking Republicans and Democrats get, so they can spend less money on their elections, which, by the way, they have lower ballot access thresholds for. So they get automatic ballot access thresholds, plus they get federal matching funds. So not only they get taxpayer dollars, but they also get money, or they also get basically free ballot access. We have to fight every single uphill battle, not only to get on the ballot, but we don't get ballot access. We don't get matching funds. We get 3.5% of the vote, whatever. If we can get to 5%, that changes the game completely, because then no longer is ballot access a worry. We get federal matching funds. We can pay for ballot access so we can stay on the ballot. And then now we're finally competing in the big leagues. So, I think there's a big strategy behind getting to that 5% margin in order to be competitive with the Republicans and Democrats, with the eventual goal to be at parity with them long term, maybe, a decade or so or down the line, or whatever it takes. But we spend so much money just to get on the ballot. it's not even a matter of what do we spend to actually run these candidates and run these campaigns and spend on, advertising and this and that. It's just getting on the ballot takes so much resources. So I don't even know how I got to this, but I don't think it's a strategy to back out last minute and say, yeah, we're going to back JD Vance because we like JD. Maybe JD Vance is a good guy. I'm sure, once he runs for president, I'm not going to like him because what he's going to have to do to be a Republican nominee. But it's not a strategy to say, yeah, we can't extract concessions from Republicans or Democrats because we don't have the power yet. We simply don't. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. If they're going to respect us, we have to have that percentage of the vote. We have to push our candidate. We have to get more political power, because if we can say, yeah, we got 6% of the vote, what are you going to do about it? Well, yeah, maybe there's something there, a concession we can get or something like that. But if we say, well, we're going to turn around and we're going to, halfway through, we're going to turn around and we're going to vote for you or whatever. Well, what respect do they have for us? Thomas Massey gets zero respect. What do you think we get? We get we get even 10 times the animosity Thomas Massey gets, and we're not even in the GOP. So
it's also, to get to that point, there needs to be that visibility. And that's part of the reason that we're so heavy on causes, is that this is a way to get people paying attention to us when we're not running a candidate, know what libertarians are about, know what kinds of things they do. And then when it comes time for earned media, which is really hard for a minor party candidate, especially when when there are so many other candidates running, then people will know to pay attention to libertarians.
We have to be subversive. I mean, our brand is that we're this spoiler vote. I mean, fuck them. I mean, seriously, fuck them. I mean, if they want to say we have to vote for them, if Stephen Miller says we're pesky libertarians, fuck you. If the Republicans are going to go on a platform of we're fiscal conservatives and we're going to solve all your problems, vote for us. Oh, you voted libertarian, you wasted your vote. You know who wasted their vote is all the people that voted for anybody but the Libertarian Party. If you voted for, Donald Trump in the 2016 election or the 2020 election, you wasted your vote because you could have voted for Joe Jorgensen. If you voted for, I don't know, George H.W. Bush in 1992, you should have voted for Ross Perot because H.W., you wasted your vote on him. You should have voted for the independent party candidate or the libertarian or whoever. So I think we have to get away from this mindset of, well, we're spoiling our vote. We're going to get what we want if we get these concessions. Fuck them. If they actually want our vote, they need to earn our vote. They need to actually earn it. Because, we'll bring it back to the Wendy's analogy. If I want to earn a customer's vote, I'm going to get a good product. I'm going to have a friendly service. I'm going to have, fast drive-through times, X, Y, and Z. But we're basically saying you can fuck us in every single way, which way in another, and you're still going to get our vote. No, we shouldn't be rewarding these people. We shouldn't be giving them the pretense that they can earn a libertarian vote just because they act like they're libertarians, but when they get into the office, they do the exact opposite. And that's why I've been trying to court Elon Musk to say, look, if this is what you want, I mean, I can't promise you everything. We don't align on everything, but we align on certain issues. So if you believe in a fiscal conservative government, we're the fiscal conservative party. So, if you run your America Party, whatever, cool. But if you want to back, fiscal conservative libertarian candidates that actually mean what they say, if you want 10 more Thomas Masseys that you can't get ballot access for, then invest in the Libertarian Party. Maybe there's a coalition effort. Maybe you just invest in us. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Let's talk. But, I think there's an opportunity to, put real money and effort behind people that are actual fiscal conservatives, actual civil libertarians, in a way that pushes what we want to push ideologically. And, we can't be so naive that we think that GOP cares about us, because they don't. I've known many people that have joined the Republican Liberty Caucus. I mean, God bless Mike Tremont. I hope he's successful. But the reality is, they barely care about the ROC. I'd rather be in a political party that actually I can talk to, Kyle Davis and Amanda Griffith and other people that
That's
are joining us tonight. I mean, we probably agree on at least ideological issues to the point where we can come up with a decent platform.
I mean,
I would think.
We
don't agree on politics on all issues, but we agree on a platform. And so why not say, yeah, we agree on this platform, let's figure out how to get there, rather than a GOP or a DNC that says, well, we don't agree on anything. Actually, we hate you and we don't want you to part of us unless you bow down and kiss our feet. So I don't know. I mean, I think libertarians see it as expediency in joining the RLC or the GOP or the DNC, but I think they're sadly mistaken. I mean, I think you're better off building a bunker than you are trying to join the RLC at this point, because at least your time and effort will go into something productive. I just don't see it with them. I don't trust them.
So, Steve, what's your affiliate link?
LP.org/Stephen Donor. LP.org/Stephen Donor. You can check out my affiliate link. You can donate, fund Project Archimedes, fund the LP, help us help you and get libertarians elected and help the libertarian cause get into the limelight. And if you donate through my link, at least I get to gauge my effectiveness at courting you into joining the Libertarian Party and participating and giving your money. And that's always a good thing.
And if you decide that it was a mistake to donate specifically through his link, let me know and I'll change it to like mine or Paul's. Or
yeah, Paul's winning, which is fucked up. So.
Paul's been making calls and shit, man. It's been wild.
No, Paul's killing it, man. Paul's doing God's work out there.
But so there's a QR code on screen if you want to support the LP. As always, we very much suggest donating to the LP so that we're not bankrupt before next year. If you're mad at the LNC, that's fine. We are too. Fuck you, Steven.
Hey, you know what? So, fair enough. Donate and get the next LNC the money they need to survive.
Exactly. Fuck these guys.
Yeah.
Next LNC is what matters.
Matter. Get the next guys. So,
as always, it was a lot of fun to talk, and of course, we're going to want you on again at some point soon. The LPA After Darks are my favorite ones.
I'll break your arms this time, or next time rather, since I broke your legs this time. That was the lore that we engaged in before you came on, was that I had broken your legs. So
yeah, I told her that you had crutches, and so
I did. I had crutches today. I called Kyle. I'm like, Kyle, I've been on the table for like half an hour. My chiropractor says I need to lay down. I don't know if I could go to the channel today. And Kyle is like,
this is the kind of person I am.
Like, wait.
Sorry,
do you
go
have
on.
a pillow for your back? I'm like, yes. He's like, do you have alcohol? I'm like, I do. He's like, you'll be fine. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right.
Kyle calls me and says, I think Steven might bail. And I said, why? He said, well, because he says that he's got an injury and is on crutches. And I was like, does he live stream with his legs? Just get him here.
You wish you did.
That's the feminine sympathy that you're getting from me. So yeah.
I'm just saying, if you decide to start live streaming with your legs, you need to go ahead and do lp.org/onlyfans.
Ooh, that might be the next platform we need to be on.
Maybe.
But at this point, we're sitting it up.
I'll read by Brian. See what he thinks. Social media committee.
Yes.
Nice. We're sitting at about 3 hours, so we should probably call it for the night. We, as always, love you being here. Everybody who's been watching, we love being here. There's your support the LP link. I'm going to go ahead and throw ours on, too, in case you want to join the Alliance, because I can have both up at the same time. And if you're like...
should call the OnlyFans Thick Libertarians.
Thick with 3 C's, baby.
And if you want to learn more about who LP Alliance is, I'm just going to keep adding ads to the page because I can right now. So go there to learn our mission. Go there to donate for the LP, and go there to donate to us or to join us, whichever way you want to go. Thank you very much, Steven, and we're going to call that a night. I fucked this outro up a little bit so you can still be heard, so be careful because the video is going to play anyway.
Oh gosh, what is this? Oh, it's just an outro. Look at that.
I told you.